50 podcast, where leaders of the industry get together and hopefully inspire current and future designers to crush their creative goals one pixel at a time. I am one of three hosts, Arturo Pete Peralta. I'm joined by two of my best friends, Martin Erosoy Bautista and Sly. He has a first name, but it's just easier to say Sly. And today we have our very first guest, the amazing, the talented, the molder of creative minds, Dan McElhattan. Did I get that right?
Ooh, you got that, dang.
Boom.
On the money,
boom.
on the money.
There we
the
go.
check's in the middle. Venmo. Okay.
So awesome that you joined us. You're our official first guest onto our podcast. You know, it's you've molded minds for the last 27 plus years. You're an inspiration in the Valley here in Vegas. So thank you for joining us. But before we get started, what's everyone drinking?
Ooh.
Tequila, Padrino.
Oh,
Padrino?
It's really good. It's a newer one. It's so smooth, bro. I know you're not fond of tequila, but this tequila, man. Ooh.
Okay. Sly, what do you have?
I got the White Claw to start, and then finishing off with a
Ooh.
little Buffalo Trace, you know?
Got it on the
Nice.
bottle.
Nice.
Nice.
Brand new, just for the podcast.
Got out the bottle.
I'm breaking in one of my
Frey
father's
Ranch?
gifts, a Frey Ranch.
Ranch?
Yep.
Oh,
It's
that's a
from
good one, too.
It's
That's
on the
in
list
Nevada.
to it's on the list to go visit. Like I want to go see this
Those
distillery.
are good people.
It
Good people.
looks
there.
awesome. And then
Pretty bottle.
Dan, what are you drinking?
Extra añejo. This is Addictivo. Very good
Oh.
tequila. Gotta go for the tequila. I'm a tequila guy,
Nice.
so
Nice.
didn't bring my
Awesome.
bottle like David. I'm a little rookie here. So,
Whoa.
gotta bring
You
out the
got a
straw. Right?
Well, cheers,
Cheers.
everyone, to a great episode.
So,
Mhm.
salute.
Cheers.
I just want to say this, okay? Dan was my first.
Whoa.
Just want to say this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Whoa.
what
He
are
was
we
my
talking
first.
about here?
Ah, no.
What?
Like, damn, Dan.
It was
Dan was my first creative director in the industry. You remember, Dan?
That's
you remember?
right.
I do.
Ah,
I do.
you were my first, bro.
BREND, right?
Yeah,
Didn't know. I didn't
yeah.
know it was the first though, but that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Wow, broke him in easy.
So Dan, you've been, from my understanding, you've been a designer for what 30 plus years now.
Exactly.
What got you into design first? Like, why did you get into design? Was it something that you
yeah.
chose from high school or prior, or you just kind of fell into this?
You know, it's funny when you look back and reflect about what was the inspiration or what was the spark. And I was in high school, I would draw a lot, but I sucked. All my friends were way better drawers than me. Here in Vegas, we used to have this beautiful place called Hondo Court. It was literally a roundabout that people would go from miles around Christmas time and look at these garages that were painted in Disney-esque elements. The trees would be all lit up. And my friend that lived across the street from me, Robbie, would paint those by hand. And it was amazing. And ever since then, I always wanted to draw like him because he was just so freaking talented and good. But I wasn't good at drawing. So I went into school at University of Arizona for architecture, as I called it. Most people call it architecture. And after getting all my basics out of the way and all that stuff, I really hated the technical engineering aspects of it. I hated the technical drawings of just putting so much time and effort in, just and seeing being rejected. And I really didn't know what to do. And so Gary Benzel, who lived in my apartment complex, ironically, he was trained by my dad when my dad was a coach for baseball. He was from Vegas. His brother Scott is a famous lead singer of a group called Machines of Loving Grace that was on the second song of the album of The Crow, the movie The Crow, which is one of my favorites. And Gary was a graphic designer bringing a portfolio. And I go, what's that? And he opened it up and showed me these T-shirts. I'm like, oh, I've been designing T-shirts for my buddies. And, he said, well, this is graphic design. I go, oh, I thought that was T-shirt illustration. I didn't know what graphic design was. So he introduced me to that. And from that, I went to go see a thought leader, an artist over at U of A. He convinced me to go ponder my thoughts of what I really wanted to do and dive into the field. And then I learned under Jackson Bolts, who's an incredible professor. Anyone that went through Jackson Bolts became really popular and famous and stuff. But he taught a class during one summer to David Carson. And David Carson came in and taught us at a junior level for 2 weeks on magazine design at the height of his career of doing Beach Culture and Ray Gun magazine. Jackson would push us to go do internships and say, if this is really what you want to do, then every single moment that you have, go spend it doing what you love. It didn't sink in until So it didn't sink in until my sophomore year. I switched over from architecture to graphic design, called visual communications at U of A. And then I did my first internship with Side Out Sport, a pro beach volleyball company that I did over the summer, where I got to work 3 days a week. I got to get paid days off to go show up at volleyball tournaments wearing the clothing that they had. I got to design T-shirts from scratch, non-computer, everything's ruby lit, cutting with X-Acto blades and blue, just hand drawn and Xeroxing, which was amazing, and letter set press downs, which is amazing. And then as I came back, got to learn from judges that would come and judge the shows at U of A, and then I got to intern with Margot Chase. Margot Chase, for a lot of designers that don't know her, they know her work. She did work for Cher and Wilson Phillips and Madonna, and she did the Crow logo. She did Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I got to intern with her at her house when she had a 2-story house. The bottom story was a studio. The upstairs was her house. When she was just finishing up Paula Abdul, the former American Idol judge, if you will, and singer. Her Spellbound album, her second Spellbound album, and this was the day Margot Chase was getting her first computer. Everything she did was done by hand. And so I got to see like the gargoyles of Bram Stoker's Dracula at her office and realize that she hand carved that out of plaster. I'm like, what the heck? This is crazy. Wow. Still to this day, cool. Still in my office, I'm going to do this. Over there on my wall right there, that poster right there is my gift from her, is a one sheet of her back of her letterhead and business card system uncut. And so she asked me she asked me why I was there, and I told her that I've been highly influenced by her work and I like her abstract Gothic theory, but I just love how her fonts were very organic, and no one was doing organic at the time. Emma Gray was doing very science fiction straight lines. She was doing things that were rough edged. And I love that. I just love that because at that time, like Stussy and skateboard companies were doing a lot of that. And it was really interesting to see. And so she was heavy on my heart about how to grasp graphic design to a whole different level. And then when I came back, you have to realize, just like today, when you're a graphic designer and you're looking at all this incredible work that's out there on the ethos, if you go onto Pinterest or whatever, there's amazing work that's 10 times better than what you could ever do. And it's just so inspiring. Well, even back then, my class all around me were 10 times better than me. I'll drop names. I'll say Kirk James, and no one will know who the hell he is. Okay. Well, you heard of Aaron Draplin, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Draplin worked with Kirk at his company he launched called Cinco Design. Cinco is Kirk James. Me and him are classmates, and he created the Xbox logo. Now everyone knows who he is. He's done Microsoft. He's done this. My other class was Todd Fidel, who worked for huge companies in Phoenix and became a head creative director for Nickelodeon. Dan Sharp went to go work for Burton Snowboards for Kemp Design. There was a 3-name company that did all the stuff for the launching of Burton Snowboards. So every single person in my class was a superstar designer to a whole different level. And then there's Dan. And so I was still trying to, I'm used to slot machines. I'm used to, Vegas design. I'm not used to what they're doing. So I dove into a lot of work in California, dove into a lot of work, what I was seeing and saying, okay, I need to catch up to these guys because they're so amazing. But the cool thing is, just like what we're doing, is there was the camaraderie after class. We'd go have drinks, we'd sit down, we'd shoot ideas back and forth. And all of a sudden, we all found our nodes. I was one of the first in our class to start my own company. Later, they all started doing their stuff and doing great things. Todd St. John has Hunter Gatherer. Gary's now a teacher in San Diego. And Todd and all them, they're all some of them are teachers right now too, which is great. But we all just learn from each other and we all push each other. So the spark really came from another graphic designer, and that was Gary Benzel. He truly just kind of laid upon me what it was all about. And then I hooked in, and it just didn't look back. I just burned any bridge anywhere else. I came from, my dad's a banker. My mom was a nurse working in nursing administration at Sunrise Hospital. My dad was a banker. So I had the corporate world behind me. I knew how to talk as a salesperson, but my background before that was like a lifeguard at the Tropicana. It's like, I wasn't drawing all my life. Yeah. So at that point, I just realized that even Jackson Bolts, my professor, looked at me and goes, we're sitting at a bar having a drink. And first of all, I'm drinking with my professor, which is really rare. You don't really normally do that. But here they're very open.
True.
They have, let's talk.
Yeah.
We're sitting down talking. He had the balls to tell me, he goes, Dan, I really don't see you as a graphic designer, and I wanted to punch him right in the nuts. I'm like, dude, what's going on? And we're friends now. He was at my wedding and everything else, so he knows the story. And I go, you're a jerk. I am here to learn to be a graphic designer. But I mean, everyone around me is so much better. But he gave me great advice. He goes, Dan, you're just a great salesman. And that's what these guys can never be. They can never sell like you. You can sell anything. And that's a huge gift for you. And I just gave him both middle fingers up because to me, I didn't care about the sales. I wanted to be creative, So for years and years and years, I would push that, and that was a great benchmark for me, because then I realized I had one area that was really struggling for a lot of designers already in the can. I could sell, I could be a businessman. I had that. Now all I had to do is work on my skills and abilities to be a better designer.
And how did you just continue to work on your craft, or how did you sharpen that tool?
Oh, absolutely. So I had a lot of insecurity about, I got a ton of rejection letters. I got to work at a couple of internships here and there at some places, and finally landed a job at a place in Scottsdale, Arizona for a very short time. We were doing a lot of stuff for Gore-Tex and doing really technical manuals that would literally just take everyone to take their car and jump off a cliff with it. It was just really boring stuff. But when I came back to Vegas, I found a small little opening, because no one was really having jobs opening here, with a small design firm boutique called Hands Inc. And Hands Inc. was started by Rick and Peggy Smith. Chris Smith was the former creative director over at Desert Companion. That's one of their nephews and stuff like that. And they would have small projects like Flamingo Hilton stuff and some other stuff. Now, I also interned prior to that with Shankar Marku. I did some stuff with Whittle Caldwell. So I did some Hard Rock Hotel advertising with Jeff Jenkins. At Shankar Marku, I actually got to work on a few projects. Like we did the Rio Rita for the Rio. We invented the beach parties over there. And I did a ton of material with that. So there was some really cool stuff where I got to launch a few restaurants and stuff, or do some logo work and do a lot of production work. But it was, it wasn't till later when I was doing stuff at Hands Inc. where, I got to do the first logo for New York Hotel. This is the groundbreaking one when they're putting the shovels in the ground. I can show you that in a little bit. And then, then it evolved to a lot of good stuff. I got to do a logo for Arnold Palmer, for a logo that they're still using to this day in Mesquite for Oasis Golf Course. And nice. I got to, it's really cool, but did a lot of slot tournaments. But the cool thing is I had a lot of friends that were in graffiti and pinstriping that I would bring in and be my illustrators to help me do some cool stuff. And I try to innovate wherever I could, because most at that time in the early 90s, I would say 80s, I'd say 92 to about 96, it was slot tournament hell, and it was a lot of stuff. It was crazy. At that point, I was just getting frustrated. Where I was frustrated at is as I did some personal development work on myself and finding I'm at a job that's not paying me the kind of money I want to be paid, because I'm looking at these, beautiful Artist Guild books that were showing you can show a region of what people are making. And I looked at what my salary was, and it was nowhere near it. Now, I didn't realize they were working on algorithms of San Francisco, New York, and LA, which is a whole different algorithm of Las Vegas. But in my mind, I'm thinking I should be earning this much, and no one's paying that much right now. And the big wigs here in town, DSLV Lawler and R&R, were real heavyweights here in town. So at that time, I just was in the grind, and I decided to launch my first company back in, I think it was 95. At that time, I was groomed by DSLV Lawler to come over and work for them, which became Hall Communications. I worked for them for about 2 years. We did a lot of stuff for Luxor and everything else. And then I only worked for DSLV Lawler, I think it was only 6 months. And at that point, I said, okay, time to launch my own stuff. So for the rest of you, I recommend not following what I did, but I told a lie. I told a huge lie. I went right up to the owner, Mick Hall, and I looked at him, I said, look, thank you for the opportunity for working here, but I landed an opportunity of a lifetime. I got this huge company that's going to be launching a game, and they want me to do the game packaging and all that stuff. Full on lie. I just said I had to give him something so I could just give myself the permission to leave him, because it was just very stressful to work at that time, because there was a lot of deadlines. The people were great. Don't get me wrong there. It just wasn't the right fit for me. And at that time, I told them a blatant lie, and they're like, "Hey, good luck to you. We wish you the best." And when I went off, I'm like, "What am I going to do?" Well, ironically, I was really good friends with a guy named Mike Mixer. A lot of people, I used to play volleyball with Mike. Mike sold Steve Wynn the Shadow Creek land for the Shadow Creek golf course.
Okay.
Mike
Wow.
worked with Jim Stewart. Jim Stewart is Uncommons. He's also owns some Matter Real Estate here in town. Jim and my cousin Kenny started and created the town square. At that time, they were called Stewart Mixer Commercial. They needed a graphic designer to help them with their flyers and their signs for commercial real estate. And I'm like, game on. They said, hey, we can give you an office. We can give you, we'll handle all the printing. We'll handle all the color printed stuff. You can use our conference room. And hey, by the way, we might throw some clients your way that might need some material. So I'm like, it came on.
Wow.
Literally,
Yeah.
I'm working on the 8th floor of the FIB tower at that time, down there off Paradise and Flamingo. I had free rent, I had free printers, I had free ink, and I had a team of salespeople throwing clients in my lap.
Wow.
I'm like, this is nuts.
Dream.
Okay, how
Dream.
long after? What's the time frame from you graduating to that happening? How many years had passed by?
92 to 96, 4 years.
Okay, wow.
Wow.
Oh shit! So in that
so
4
You're
years,
making moves.
in that
So
4 years,
four-
you felt
4 years-
strong enough.
4 years, I went from a $26,000 salary that bumped up finally at a $35,000 salary that went to a $45,000 salary at DSLV Lawler to well over 6 figures within that 4 year.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's my hat off to you on that, especially during that time frame. That's awesome.
It's very
That is-
inspiring.
It's fun
badass.
times. But
Yeah.
I don't look at that. I was very lucky and very fortunate to have friends in certain industries.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of hard work, but you have to realize this was because of the due diligence of Mike Mixer and Jim Stewart. These guys are amazing people. They're just very generous with their time, very generous with their community support and stuff like that. They helped me launch my first company, O'Malley Ryan. And at that time, I kept bringing in more designers from DSLV Lawler and wherever we could to come in and form our team, because I just needed to start to grow and expand, because there was just so much more work coming through that I could handle, to the point where we launched our first office was off of Spring Mountain, and it was near the same area where Westwood Studios first launched their company. Now all of a sudden, one of my former partners, his brother works for Westwood Studios, and he brought in a software gaming company that needed packaging design. So my lie that I told back in DSLR became a truth. And it was like, oh,
you didn't lie.
yeah, didn't lie. Well, I lied
You
at the
just
time, but
foretold.
yeah, I foretold, right? Yeah, it's like the magic 8 ball.
Yeah.
Bit of
I gotta ask you, what was your company's name? What was your first company's
O'Malley Ryan
name? O'Malley Ryan.
If you look up O'Malley Ryan,
with that?
so you had Merica Birch Dickerson, you had R&R, Rogage and Rogage, you had DSLV Lawler. Everything was named after the last names of the owners. If you look at the last names of the owners of O'Malley Ryan, it's McElhattan, Hirschberger, and Hertzig. And I'm like, oh God, this is just going to be nuts. So we decided to come up with a fictitious name and a fictitious member. Like, the owners of the company are O'Malley and Ryan. You don't know which week they're male or female. We'll switch the genders on them. We'll switch what they're doing. So when anyone calls our office and says, yeah, can I speak to Mr. Ryan? We're like, oh, you mean Mrs. Ryan? Oh, yeah, Mrs. Ryan. Can I speak to them? I'm like, I'm sorry, they're on lecture right now, but you can talk to one of the other guys, the creative directors, they'll help you out. And we'd shifted us. So we made fun of the name situation. We didn't want to be a law firm. We didn't want to be a typical corporate world where we're naming ourselves after the name of the owners of the company. And so we literally came out, the logo was a guy with no face. We just did some really cool stuff that was just no one was doing at the time. We did like a Reservoir Dog poster where all of us were lined up in a pyramid thing, and did black and white images and stuff. And then we looked at the color that no one was using, and everyone hated yellow, so we used yellow. So we used yellow just to stand out, and it was badass. It was a lot of fun.
Nice, dude.
That's cool.
That's pretty fucking dope. Like, you went against the grain. You went against the grain. That's like, dude. So many people right now are so scared to whoa, I don't want to do that. And you at that time, that's awesome. Like, you're like, what do they hate?
Yeah.
Let's take what they hate, turn it around, and make them like it. And that's what you did. That's dope.
Yeah. It's just basically, we wanted to do something different. Everyone was going after casino. We didn't want casino work. We were doing, at that time, we launched the logos for Mountain View Hospital. We did all the branding for the launch of the All American Sport Park, which the building's still on Sunset and Las Vegas Boulevard, but who knows when they're going to finally demolish the thing. But we were doing stuff for Callaway Golf, Major League Baseball, All American Sport Park, Mountain View Hospital. And then also we had our huge client, which was Westwood Studios, which is we're doing Blade Runner packaging, Dune, Knox, all the retaliation, Red Alert stuff. Oh yeah, it's just great.
Now, let me ask you, as a business owner at that time frame, you were the creative director, correct?
We actually shared the role with 3 people, the 3 partners. But yes, I played a creative director for my clients that I brought in. Yes.
And now, did you have junior designers at the time?
Yes, we did. We had juniors. We had a production artist, junior designer. We have copywriter. Yep.
And what was their salary at that time frame?
What was my salary or their salary?
No, their salary, a junior. Someone starting in...
Junior at that time, and we always would base it on their expertise and what they can crank out and what we had at the time. So you just have to realize that a standard junior salary would be around 35 to 38 if you look at it correctly at that time in that frame. Depending on how good they were, if they could take on an additional role in production, we could actually even bump that up with a bonus plan and bring them around 42 to 45.
Interesting. And do you know now what the range is in 2024 for a junior designer? Still the same.
Well, the is it really the same?
Still the same. Yeah, 30, 35. But then
we were paying a lot of extra money.
Yes.
I was going to say, you guys were being super generous for that time.
And that's I mean,
Go ahead.
I mean, that just shows that, like, at least in our career path, that we have struggled on the pay equality on this part. I looked at books from 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and the salary that I'm currently making is still the same salary from then. And the city has grown, and that's one thing I do want to bring attention to, current and future designers is, know what your worth is, but we should increase what we get paid. Cost of living does increase. I'm as a junior, don't expect to make 65,000 out the gate unless you work in San Francisco, and even then, that's equivalent to 30,000, right?
Yeah.
But it's just adjusting that salary gap. That's one thing that I've noticed that the design career path lacks big time.
I would agree with that, but you also have to factor in the ability skill sets.
100%, yes.
So if a junior designer does nothing but the print and the production and the output there, that's very limited. Where in today's society, the digital media, the social realms, motion graphics and web and coding is a whole other feature to be added in. And now when you're talking where more money, like for instance, the same modality back then of making money really wasn't design. Making money was made on print, commercial placement, media buying, and also media creation. Those targets, a lot of agencies at the time were using commercials to say, hey, we'll the creative for the commercial will be free, but we have to charge you for the placement of it. But the markup they made on the buying of the media was so big they made their money back. But they were stomping on what we do, and none of us said anything about it. None of us spoke up. And that's one of the reasons why I was a big part of AIGA and stuff is like that. These are areas where we can just learn as defenders of our craft where we have to stand put. And you still have areas of servicing that's really tarnishing our reputations and also our industry. When I can go to these, I'm not even going to mention names, and I don't want you to mention names because I don't want any advertising. But there's these other sites that people go to and they can get it for a certain cost. I can go I can go get my discount design for a discount cost, and there's no process to it. And there's so many clients that I've literally shared with them. I said, I am so grateful that you saved money. Oh, by the way, let me show your logo on 10 other sites right now with 20 other different corporations that are using the same wonderful design that you love. And they're like, so there's areas that we can learn as a business leader and stuff like that. And we have to really partner and learn how to partner up with our clients so that we can modulate the financial stats, because there's some designers out there right now that will be listening to this or watching this and going, I need to ask for more money. I deserve more money. And you know what? In some cases, they're absolutely right. They do. What they have to understand is, as a business owner too, there's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of lawsuits. There's a lot of insurance. There's a lot of other things that we have to factor in as we're bringing money. I would love to pay more money to my designers. So let me go back for a second. When I was talking about the salary that I was paying my junior designers, you need to understand something. I was always working very hard for what I call a 9-3 rule. 9-3 is you work 9 months as hard as you freaking can, and you're going to get 3 months paid vacation off. Now, with that said, if you modulate this the correct way, we only got to do a 10-2, not a 9-3. when you look at any standard business organization right now, you already have how many days off for holidays? About a week. And then paid sick days another week. And if you give it you're already giving someone almost 3 weeks paid vacation already. So you're almost giving all starting employees a month off. How can you validate giving them another month off for full recovery, for full whatever? Because we all know there's no such thing as a 9 to 5. It's a 24/7. Deadlines are tomorrow. The people work on weekends. They work more than 10 hours. But how am I going to validate this? It wasn't until one of my second companies I launched called Ripple, where I learned from Laura Zoller, who's a very amazing artist here in town. Look her up. She's amazing stuff. She said, on Fridays, we're going to quit half days and we're not going to work the rest of the day. And that freaked me out because I was a machine. I was just nothing but cranking hours, whatever. And she's like, no, Fridays we're cutting off, no work, no calls from clients on the weekends, not till Monday. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, we're going to lose revenue. We're going to lose this. We're going to lose this. We're going to lose this. We ended up making more money because the concentrated time that we put in, when clients started realizing that we're closing on Fridays, they start pushing stuff back into us faster and earlier. And all of a sudden we were more efficient.
It's funny how that happens,
instead of waiting till Friday.
Right? Bingo. Yeah. It blew my mind. So at that point, that's where we started looking into, okay, great. We will push 4 days a week where we're going to go hardcore. And, by law, we have to set certain hours because of, all the compliances that we have to do as an employer to employee relationships. But we also have to figure out if we do this, this, and this, we're going to give you 3-day weekends. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, what? And you're not working on a weekend at all, blah, blah, blah. Now you have, right. Yeah. Not you don't know.
Are you talking about weekends where nobody calls me and I could do whatever I want and I don't have to be by my phone? Like, what?
Not allowed.
I mean, that's your fault too, though. But R&R still does that. R&R does during summertime they do a half day on Fridays. I know that.
Yeah. So even like companies like Brand Stuff, they would do celebrations in the afternoons on Fridays as well and stuff. So and I think it's very helpful for communities and what we now call corporate culture to do that, to apply that. These are benefits that really help the employees understand how they have to decompress or do stuff or even be more creative. But it also pushes the productive teams to do the jobs they need to do when they do it without farting around.
True. Yeah. I do think, though, as a creative director or art director, having that director title, you don't get the full benefit of just relaxing on the weekend. Like, you are in a leadership position as a leader. Like, you get your juniors to take off. Like, having a military background, I think about it that way. When you're a sergeant, an E6, E7, you take care of your lower enlisted. So yeah, your junior in production should not be working on the weekend. Their emails should not be going off. See you, half day Friday, see you Monday, get the hell out of here.
Right.
But as the art director, you have to pick up that slack. As a creative director, pick up that slack. In my opinion, a good leader will do that.
Yeah, of course.
And I, and my hats off for Pete, for being a great veteran and everything else. My hats off to the military and their efficiencies. The one thing that I've learned from a lot of my friends that are in the military and stuff is how not only how diligent they are, but how much they strategize in that in those areas and those regions of strategizing. Yes, okay, everyone's off on the weekend now. As a strategist, you're like, okay, I got to finish this, I got to finish this, I got to finish this. What's happening now is the leadership responsibility is lack of delegation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that throughout.
Lack of teaching managerial elements to people to have them handle that. So, for instance, if I noticed, let's just hypothetical, if I was noticing my office manager handled my bills, handled our receipts, handled everything else she had to do, and she's done, and I can now delegate this, and this to her. I said, I need you to do this and this and this, so I don't have to do it on Saturday and Sunday. And they'll do it. So the art of the ask is challenging because we don't want the mistakes to happen. But when we empower them to do so, you have then alleviated yourself of that responsibility. And now you can oversee it and just check it. This is how effective and efficient culinary restaurants work. When the head chef comes in, he'll grudge work it for 1 to 2 years. On the third year, it's coasting. He didn't have to be there. The team's doing the work. And he just has to come in and just alternate. And so at that time, yes, there is some grudge work at the beginning, but there's going to be a point when you have that delegation that you'll have some freedom.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, one thing that I can recall on when myself, Sly, and Martin worked together at Tropicana, the first year it was just kind of like me taking the reins on everything. Like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this. after I realized how much potential they had grown and how hungry they were, it's like, okay, now I can start delegating. Now, if I'm not there, Sly is the art director. Nice. I could handle lower tier mailers to Martin and trust them, and I know that it could go to print and there's not going to be an issue. So then, yes, delegate stuff and hand things off, and now actually work like a full creative team. Firing on all cylinders. So definitely, yeah, right. A good leader will empower their people to replace them, and also to hopefully grow and move on to a different company, and be a leader of the industry themselves too.
I think that I think we need to fail. Like working at Trop, I failed a lot, and from that failure, like it taught me to be better, and it fired me up to want to be better. If I was shielded by my creative director at the time, Pete, he shielded me from those mistakes, I wouldn't have grown. I would have been bad, and I would have stayed I would have been stagnant. And that's where the leadership comes in, where you need to let the people around you deal with it and fail, and then talk to them. Hey, you made this mistake. What did you learn from it? Cool. I mean, don't make it such a big deal, but like, hey, what did you learn from it? Don't do it again. Let's move on. Let's solve the problem and, get this done so we could go home.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally agree with that. I mean, just delegating stuff to your designers and the people either below you or above you gives you the peace of mind also while you're on vacation. I'm able to go away and not have to worry about this thing or this thing or this thing because I've handed this to them before and they've been able to handle it. So that delegation is really important.
Absolutely. I think the one fascinating fact of something, learning about working with a lot of different clients and a lot of different agencies and creative people, is where you get to discover their backgrounds. It's not like I went to school on leadership. It's not how I went to school on learning how to delegate anything. And it's even funny when I've gone to a client, like out of all the clients I've ever worked with, I think there was one major one that ever had a full marketing business plan in order and set exactly what they're going to do for the whole year and gave us a direction. Everyone else is like, you figure it out, or you do this or whatever. And, there's those that like they plan to fail or they fail to plan. And it's just like that little modality there, those little nuances is interesting because the failures is where you're going to learn a lot. And that's also where, unfortunately, as business owners, we're going to lose a lot. Not only are we losing time, we're losing deadlines, we're going to lose money, we might lose employees, there's so many things to lose. And sometimes it gets very hectic where we have to work on so many other nodes of keeping the business just afloat, that then what we don't realize till years later is it causes so much stress within us, it will actually damage us. We lose sleep, we get high blood pressure, we have health problems. There's a lot of things that happen with that. And my hat's off. Yeah, we drink, right? Yeah, exactly. On that note, yes, there we go.
On that note.
But with that said, my hats are off to anyone navigating this field at any time, at any place with that, and even learning from those that they think are making even bigger mistakes. Because at least you can learn from the adjustments. I learned from a lot of my previous owners of what not to do with my employees and what not to do with my clients. I learned heavily with that. I learned, I've been told not to go work with a lot of my clients that I worked with that ended up being my biggest clients I ever had. I was told never to work with Bill Walters and Walters Golf, and he was one of my best clients I ever had. And for 2 years, and just an amazing client. And you got to work on naming the restaurant Sealy at Bally High for Wolfgang Puck, and got to work on some great projects and meet some great people through those processes. So, be careful where one person's opinion about something is literally a whole different perspective of what you could have.
Yeah,
and you can. There's a lot to learn from it. Yeah, so we can all learn from that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, like one thing that I've been telling myself lately is like I'm not gonna judge anybody until that specific person gives me a reason not to trust them. And like we need to trust people, and once they do something wrong, then you have a right to be like, no, I don't want anything with you.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Now, as a creative, when you were in school, what goal did you have in mind? What did you envision that you wanted to do, and did you achieve that? Like, for example, one of the goals I still have to this day. I have a few. I have quite a few, but one of them is brand something for like the Super Bowl or the World Series. Like that's or the Olympics. That's just like top tier. Have my name in the credits in a Pixar movie. Like that's still a goal that I'm trying to reach for one way or another. Did you have anything like that, and did you achieve?
Yeah. huge. And most of it's behind me. I've always wanted to work for George Lucas or Lucasfilm or Industrial Light and Magic. I've always wanted to do something for Star Wars. It wasn't until AIGA I got to work with Lucasfilm. And that's when we did a lecture with DJ, and I call him DJC, and he's a social media director for all Lucasfilm. So anytime you see any social media for the Mandalorian stuff, that's his role. It's his job.
Oh, okay.
And so we got to have as a special lecture. We got to surprise. We call it a Zoom bomb instead of a photo bomb. We Zoom bombed him with the famous artist Shag, which is Josh Engel, who has a beautiful gallery at the Palms and stuff like that. And anyways, I just doing some hype up graphics for him for his lecture with me working for Lucasfilm because I had to have him approve it all, and it was wonderful. But I got a lot of rejection. So at that time, because my friends I was a skier, they were snowboarders. I definitely wanted to do something. I wanted to do a deck. So I wanted to do a deck for Burton snowboards. I thought that would be really cool. At that time, a lot of people were doing Rosinal. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and I want, you have Rosinal and K2 and the skis and stuff. And literally just recently, just a couple of years, one of my clients here, a huge investor and a land development dealer, Mike gave me a great project to do some skis. So I finally got to do one of my dream coat clients. My other one was I always want to do wine labels. I always want to do wine bottles and stuff like that. And for years and years and years, never got one. And then I landed as a client Rock and Roll Wine. Rock and Roll Wine would have.
I've seen that logo. I like that logo. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
We'll show you that one in a minute here. But working with Chris and Sonny and stuff, I got to do an incredible packaging for them. And still to this day, their bottles of wine are sold at Lee's Liquors and stuff like that. But they would have an event where they can just drop an email blast and get like 5,000 people to show up at Mandalay Bay Beach and have these huge parties. And it's amazing. But I got to work on the logo, got to work on the packaging, got to work on the wine labels. And because of that, out of the blue, Ernest and Julio Gallo, which is the second largest winery in the world, came to me for doing some special projects with them. And so because of one thing, it led to another. So I remember years before, because I never had a wine label as a logo. I never had wine. I actually designed one in a self-promotion for my company M3, and we sent it out to people. So we always say, hey, look, okay, we get all the designers together and we sit down, we say, give me your top 10 dream clients and then give me your top 3. And then from the top 3, we put the top 3 into our lead. We create a lead behind with those top 3 of a design of what we wanted to do, to put it out there in the universe, to show people what we want to do. And I just really believe in that that plants a great seed for harvesting later, or people call it the law of attraction. And it's like, basically you put it out there, some people are going to support you and get it. And then we put it out there, and all of a sudden we landed Rock and Roll Wine, then Ernest and Julio Gallo. And next thing you know, we're doing stuff for some whiskey companies. So like Turvey and stuff. So it's awesome. So, yeah, so awesome. I got rejected by all my other favorites. I never, I wanted to work for Disney. I never got to work for Disney, but I got to work with Stan Evenson. And Stan Evenson, a lot of people may not know, he designed the New England Patriot logo for their new helmet. And at the time, they're a booster club and everybody else. No. Sorry. World champions. Sorry. Shots fired. Shots fired.
I respect Brady. I saw I don't know if you saw the Patriots documentary on Apple TV or Apple Plus. Amazing.
Really?
Like I had respect for Brady, but I have way more respect for him now. Like that dude is a goat for sure. But anyways, carry on. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, no, don't be. So Stan got so much crap for changing that logo, because the boosters, everyone said, this is a logo you can't change. This is our history, blah, 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 blah. But the year it was changed was the year they won the Super Bowl. So they looked at it as a good omen, and all of a sudden they switched it.
Nice. We're talking about from the Patriot doing that
the 3-point stance to the man with the long helmet.
Yeah. That's a badass logo. That is a badass logo.
But no one liked it at the time. At the time, they didn't want the change. They wanted the old, and that happens. See, that's what happens a lot in our industry. A lot of people get used to a logo, like when Joe Duffy changed Jack in the Box, or when a particular logo gets flipped out, like JCPenney. We see it all the time. Yeah, Gap. People freak out, and all that stuff. They freak out over it. They freaked out over the New England Patriots. They said that they really wanted to switch it back. However, they didn't. And that year they won the Super Bowl. And as soon as they did, they didn't look as a bad omen. They looked at it as a blessing. And then boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I reached out to Stan because I loved his work. He worked in Culver City in California. You know, I've always been doing internships with Margaret Chase. Now I wanted to try someone else, and he gave me. I got to work on Pocahontas, a stage show with him for Disney. So I didn't get to work for Disney, but I got to work on a Disney project for another designer, and which was really a lot of fun. My stuff, it never got published, but I got to understand the process of what it's all about, which was really, really cool. But again, I think when you like with all this social media, I think there's this beautiful video by Matthew McConaughey. All right. He does this incredible thing on the Grammys and stuff where he talks about the future self. He never wants to catch up to it. He always wants it to be.
I love that
speech.
Ahead. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That is me. I want design projects I can never get, but I want to keep going for them. You know,
my hero is me 10 years from now. I'll never catch up to my hero. Because in 10 years, I hope to be there. Yes, I love that speech.
It really rings true for a lot of people. So I'm so grateful for the clients I did not get, because the ones that I did have taught me so much to work with clients I never thought possible I would ever have. And it's been a beautiful journey. I'll be honest with that. It's been amazing.
That's awesome. I love that's very inspiring. Like I love that. Do you still have an actual wine bottle from with your logo or no?
Yeah, I do. Nice. I don't have it right here with me. I have it, but I can show you guys some stuff. I'm gonna go pull that up in a second.
It's funny because I'm actually working on a brandy right now that's about to launch here soon. So I get to see like my stuff on a bottle and, you know, be on the shelves and everything. And it's something that was on the list, lower on the list, but you know, it fell in my lap and super excited about that, you know. So
nice.
Like you said, you know, it's just continue and having a positive attitude and kind of like your dream board and throwing it out there in the universe. And you'll get it. I mean, now I'm an art director for a magazine, and I've always wanted to have, you know, my artwork on a cover.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, I'm like, I want to have a magazine cover, and now I'm cranking one every 2 weeks. You know, design an entire publication. So, you know, it's awesome. Like it took 12, 14 years to do it, but it's there, and I'm like, yes, dude, I got it. Check that box.
You know, I'm just so grateful that I'm part of this conversation, because that shit that you guys are talking about, I don't know about you, Sly, but I've never thought about that. I've never thought about aiming for something that is super far reaching, but you're still going to grab that bow and fucking stretch it and shoot your shot. And if it lands, it lands. But in the process of it going up there, you learn so much. That's what you guys are telling me right now. The process to get there, even if your shot misses, is worth it, because you're going to learn so much in there in between. I don't know about you, Sly, but I've never really honestly had any like, oh, I want to do that and I have to follow it and chase it. So to me, that, like, you guys are now moving my gears, and I'm like, fuck, I need to start setting those goals. Like, I need to get those unattainable things.
Move that goalpost.
Fuck.
I've only been telling you this for like 14 years, bro.
But look at all the examples.
The group chats.
Right? Look at what Pete was just saying about the goat. You know, when we have all these goats in our lives, like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and stuff like that, they're the ones staying after practice and practicing more. They're the ones coming earlier to practice more. You're not hearing all the stuff that they're doing to get to that point. And, you know, the funny thing is, what people don't realize about me is, like, after I'm done designing, after I'm dealing with my amazing family and teaching and stuff, is then I'll go dive in and be like a little kid again and go see what's cool packaging out there, like McFarlane Toys, or I'll go see what this is doing. I'll go check out a good movie and all. Yeah, you got to be surrounding yourself by this stuff and going, okay, where am I going to push myself? Because if I sit and wait for it to happen, it may never happen.
Exactly.
And we're giving ourselves a guarantee that we have this guarantee that we're going to die. So if we know we're going to die, guaranteed, then what am I going to do it? How am I going to live? And you got to throw those cards on the table. That launched me. That gave me the courage to start my own company with not knowing what the hell I was doing.
It gave you the courage to fail, knowing that you didn't give a fuck if you failed, because you're like, fuck it. If I fail, I fail. And that's what a lot of people are scared of, failing. And failure is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It teaches you so much.
A great friend of mine, Stan Evenson, he launched Gecko Hawaii Clothing. Amazing designer, credible designer, does t-shirts and stuff like that. He shared, you know, it took me to be broke to realize I'm not going to starve again.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm like,
I've been there.
Been there, right?
I was about to say,
I've been there.
We all been there, right?
Bro,
it's like there's nothing more motivating.
Bro,
yeah,
when I was in
sure.
when I was in Trop, Sly looked at me and I was single, and he's like, "Why the fuck aren't you dating?" And I look at him, I'm like, "What? I'm gonna take my date to McDonald's, bro? That's how broke I am. I
remember that conversation too. Yeah.
Wait, you had money for McDonald's? What about Top Ramen? Come on, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, damn. Yeah, right. So I was like,
I got to put that money in the gas, get to work.
Pretty much.
For me, the breaking point where I decided to like need to buckle down and like get serious. I mean, I'm obsessed with what we do. I love what we do.
Yeah.
I was roommates with Martin for about 2 years during lockdown and everything, and he noticed I would come home and I'd eat and then I get right back on the computer. And I'd be trying to learn motion graphics, and I'm trying to remember Maya, and I'm just illustrating, or I see something cool and I have an idea, and I bought an iPad and just doing sketches and just tracing and figuring stuff out. How do they create stuff? But it was 10 years prior to that when we had just finished school, and it was at the time, my dog, it was just me and my dog in my apartment, and it was her birthday, and I didn't have the money to buy her a little birthday cake. And I was at that moment right there, I said, I'm never going to be this fucking broke again. Fuck that. Like, it made me sad. Like, that was my child. That was my puppy. And I didn't have the cash to buy her a little treat for her birthday. And it broke my heart. And I was like, yeah, this will never fucking happen again. And I fucking just ran for it and just continue hustle. You know, hey, you need a flyer, gotcha. You need a resume, gotcha. You need this. I just make money, make fucking money, but loving what I was doing and like being passionate still about what I was doing.
That was the night before he met with Mark Sabard and told him like, "Oh yeah, Martin, I'm way better than him." Because he had his mindset.
So backstory on that real quick. He doesn't have a show anymore. Mark Savard, Comedy Hypnosis. He used to be at the V Theater, but he had a open graphic designer position. And before he interviewed you, he wanted you to check out the show. So I went to go check out the show. Thought it was hilarious. Met with him after the show, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I met with Martin yesterday. Do you know who he is?" And I was like, "Martin Bautista." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, he's a good designer, but I'm way better." And because I said that line, he liked it, and he goes, "I'll see you tomorrow." Yeah. Got the interview, got the job. Bam, out the door.
So for our student designers and young designers, keep a note. The people you're going to school with are not only your friends, may not only be your best friends, your partners on the line, they're also your competition. Remember that shit.
Or actually, the other thing is before they step on you, just hold the nail up so they hit the nail, not you. I got
it. I complimented him first, right?
Yeah, right. Good. Exactly. He's good, but I'm better.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, we know that.
You know, that's awesome. That is so rich. Good stuff there. You know, it's in our industry, we tend to do that a lot too. Where that segues to a really beautiful moment where when I was with one of my companies, we definitely were eating off the kibbles of others. So for instance, when you have large agency here in town, they can't manage a lot of the work that they're doing, and they will farm out a lot of work to others or drop the ball and stuff because it's just too small for them. And we were very, very fortunate to gain a client from a large agency that dropped the ball because they were dealing with a construction sign, and they're just like, we're beyond a construction sign. We need to do more than that. But when we picked up the client on the construction sign alone, we just got to talk to him and got to deal with the owners and stuff. And what happened is the board of directors of the owners of this thing was the board of directors for a huge, huge nonprofit organization that made money from their former CEO. And the CEO was a huge CEO of all things, now I'm forgetting the name of it. They used to sell the perfumes and stuff like Avon Cosmetics.
Okay.
So remember, here in town, we have the underground house off of like Flamingo Road and whatever. There's this beautiful underground house. That was the CEO of Avon's house. And he was like he thought we were going to be bombed by Cuba or something like that. Anyways, the foundation, old school. It's J.B. Henderson is his name, where Henderson City was named after. They had to spend literally $35 million out of their endowment because they would lose it to taxes or whatever. So they actually decided to create a private school here in town. So we got to be part of that, which was the Alexander Dawson School. And we got to grab the client not only from this large agency because they just didn't have the time for him, but we got to help build the brand, build the study, everything they did, even to the point where I myself was looking at taxidermists to find bear claws that they can use in the cement. So when you go to the school and you find bear claws in the cement, it's actually real bear claws.
Oh, wow.
And so we're solving all these cool problems. And so there's these times where we're hungry or starving, and it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask. Like when I'm like, I have a poster in here when I was really broke. Then when the market crashed, I think it was like 2000. I had a huge crash around 2001, 2002. A friend of mine bought tickets to the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, and it's $1,500 a ticket. And when he was in Australia for the Summer Olympics, Dan, we got to go. They're going to be in Utah. I'm like, Utah? I was born in Salt Lake, and we moved to Vegas. I'm in. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, I had nothing because my one company or my side business was just hustling, and it just crashed horribly. I had no money left. My cards were maxed out. I was just scraping by. And he called me up. He goes, "Hey, Dan, I got the tickets. We're going." And I'm going, okay, how the hell am I going to pay him $1,500? How am I going to handle this? And I have no money. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to ask friends or going to ask family or figure something out. And I was really dead broke. And he called me up. He goes, "Dan, we got to go." And I was just honest with him. I said, "Ed, look, I'm right now at a very difficult time in my life where I don't have anything and I'm maxed out. And right now it's just not, I just cannot make this trip." And he goes, No. You're not hearing me, Dan. I already have your ticket. I already bought it. And I'm like, I said, "I'll pay you back. No big deal, but I just can't go, bro." He goes, No, you don't understand me, Dan. All the flights to Salt Lake City are booked. We can't even fly into Salt Lake. We're flying to Vegas. We're coming to you. And all the cars already been rented out. So you're going to drive us to Salt Lake and I'm paying gas. And I'm going, and I'm like, wow. I can't even afford to stay at a hotel. He goes, No, Dan, I got that. My uncle has a cabin in Park City. We're staying with him, and he's going to cook us meals and stuff. I'm like,
nice.
And so all of a sudden, having nothing, all these opportunities started to pop up, and all this thing happened. So next thing you know, being a graphic designer, I love looking at posters and graphic design works. And McElray McElby was a huge professor at BYU doing these amazing posters. He's the one that did the wave. That's this Japanese wave. At the top had all these doves flying off. Just did these amazing works.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And so he did a limited edition poster, only 202 in color, 101 in gray, and another 101 in black and white or whatever. He did this amazing Olympic poster. And at opening night, they had these beautiful ceremonies. One of my bucket lists was to see John Williams conduct the symphony. Who's conducting the symphony? John Williams. I'm freaking out. Steven Spielberg's carrying the flag out. I always wanted to meet him. There he is. It's like, this is crazy stuff. And the next day, the guys were going to go see some skiing, and I wanted to go to Park City to check out the galleries. And I asked the gallery, I said, "Look, I saw this in this book here, this poster. Do you have this poster?" And the kid goes, "I think I do." And he went back, and sure enough, he comes out with this big poster, and he rolls it out. And I look at the bottom, and it says AP. And I'm like, oh, this is an artist proof.
Arturo Peralta.
Name drop! Exactly. I knew you knock off. So anyways, I look at this thing, and I'm like, oh, my God. And I can't believe it's an artist proof or whatever. And so I said, okay, how much is it for the poster? And he goes, $300. Now, really, I have no money. I'm dead broke, and I'm in here, and he's like $300, and I'm going to try to play the crip on it. I was trying to put my face on and go, $300, man, that's a lot of money. Oh God, let me think about this. And I went outside. I'm like, how am I going to pull this one off? I called my credit card company. I said, "Look, I know I've been late for a couple of weeks here, or a couple months on my payments and all this stuff. I really need an extension. I just need a $500 extension. That's all I need." And I go, "Of course, you never asked for extension before. You got it."
Wow.
Oh, nice.
That was meant for
frame. So the framing of my poster cost me twice as much as the damn poster. I mean, that's how big the sucker is. Okay. So I get this poster. I buy it. Worth it. I go back to my home office and I look up AIGA's. They have a book of all the members and stuff. I look up McElby's office, and it has his phone number right there listed. I call him up. He picks up the phone. I go, "How many artist proofs did you make?" And he goes, 33. I go, "I think I just bought one." He goes, "No way." Slams the phone. And you hear the stomping. You hear the drawer, the metal drawer going out, and then I swear to you, I heard, "Fuck." Like, he comes back to the phone and goes, "Yep, you got one. Be lucky with it. It's the only one out there." Click. And I'm like, wow. Oh, nice. And so to this day, I have it in my office, and it always reminds me that even when we're just so down and so broke and so whatever, the world is still there.
Yeah.
And it's really all we have to do is really just talk to people and ask them their generosity. Now, years later, I'm still, Ed's my buddy. I was there for his wedding. I paid him for the ticket or whatever. And I try to get him cash for the cabin and everything else when finally things were hitting. He goes, no, that trip was epic. We're never, that you don't owe me a thing. And it's like, what's amazing is that when you have friends and you have people that you can just really talk to and just really share even the hardest of things and just even tell them the truth straight up, it's amazing what can happen. The miracles can truly happen. So it's like, and I would say this to anyone here and anyone through AIGA or any designers, like really just reach out and talk to somebody and reach out and say hi, reach out and just communicate. And even when it's authentic and it's raw and you're frustrated with something, just share it. It helps it get off the shoulders. It helps us all grow because we've all been there. We're not, I'm not invincible. There's times I've had no clients. There's times I had more clients I can deal with. There's times I had more money. There's more times I've had no money. I mean, it's part of the deal. But as long as we can stay true with that. Yeah.
So I have a question. Did all that happened to you in your life, like what you're talking about right now, is that what inspired you to be part of AIGA? And if you could tell us like your role in AIGA, because you had a really big role in AIGA, and like I'm so proud to have met you even before I knew you were part of AIGA. Even before I joined AIGA, then people started talking about you and they were saying what you were, and I was just like, whoa, Dan, like that name sounds familiar. I'm like, oh shit, that was my first creative director.
So those two, those who are listening and you that don't know what AIGA is, Edosoy, do you want to give a little backstory on that?
Well, I think that
Martin,
Dan is the perfect person to describe and let us know what AIGA is. I think you're also part of
AIGA. You should know.
Yeah, I'm also a little buzzed right now, and I man, I can't talk.
Come on,
I'll save you. I'll save you
all the time.
Dad hasn't given me the new spiel for the AIGA, so
there's no new spiel. It's still the same. I mean, let's just put it this way. Okay, we look at places to connect, and we look at places to network, and we look at places to where we can improve who we are as graphic designers,
and to be inspired.
And at that time, Vegas has some incredible clubs and still do. American Marketing Association is an incredible club. There's a public relations social group as well. And then you have American Marketing Group and, the group that does the Addies, and you have the Ad Federation and everything else. And these are great groups. And so at that time, when I was looking at the award shows, I was really kind of disappointed of the evaluation of the judges that were coming into Vegas at that time. This is 95, 96, all the way from 92. When I was working at Hands Inc. and stuff, we would submit awards and get awards left and right for Addies and stuff. But when I looked at who the judges were, I was just like, I just wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with the quality of graphic designers they were bringing in. It was mostly media buyers, media commercial makers, which is great, but not packaging specialists, identity specialists, or anything like that. And when we would go to some of these awards, it would be a liver expansion marathon that would start at 6 p.m. and end at 2 a.m. Literally, people were just drinking a lot. They were handing out awards till midnight or whatever, and it sucked. It was horrible at that time. And that motivated me, like, can someone do something different? Now, at that time, being young, being very cocky, still cocky to this day, I just felt I wasn't going to be a part of them. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something interesting. And so Phoenix had the Phoenix Society or Phoenix Communication Arts Company and stuff. If you ever see this really cool guy that's always making photographs of himself almost half naked, wearing a pink tutu around the world and doing stuff, you'll see it everywhere. He's the one that was head of the chart. I'll send a link so everyone knows what the heck I'm talking about. He's this guy, incredible guy that was just doing these incredible works and stuff and having creative people get together. He showed me what community was all about with artists. And I'm like, okay, Vegas needs something like that. It was Andrew Hirschberger. Andrew Hirschberger was the first president of AIJ Las Vegas. He says, we need to have an AIJ chapter. I'm like, what's AIGA? What's that? I have no idea what AIGA is. I'm like, let go my AIGA. What is this? I don't know what this is. And next thing you know, he showed me all about the corporation. Next thing you know, we started diving into books and left and right. It was AIJ this and all these amazing people were a part of the organization that's just thriving and crazy. Next thing you know, we're talking to Rick Griffey and then Sean Adams with Adams Marica. He did all the stuff for Sundance Film Festival, would come and fly in. He's from Reno, by the way. He would come in, we'd have these talks about launching a chapter here. And then we flew out to Philadelphia for a huge chapter launch to tell them we're going to be launching a chapter. Not only that, we had no programming, so we had no events really going on, but we built just by asking fellow designers, would they want to be a part of this? We went from 0 to 75 members within a year. National chapter was going, you're the fastest growing chapter in the nation, so much that we want to bring our national convention to Vegas. And it's never been in Vegas. This is when the Venetian was just opening, and we're going to have the first event there. And we're blown away because, I did the math on that not too long ago, and it was like millions of dollars of revenue brought to Vegas because of that. But we're here talking to these bigwigs. This is the year and I love you guys. I love House Industries. They're one of my favorites out there, and Ken and all the boys over there. But they came to town, they played music, and they went around and photographed all these hotels and casinos and created the Las Vegas fonts. And they launched Las Vegas font, House Industries. So there's a Los Angeles company coming to Vegas, taking our stuff, designing it, and making a profit off it. And I was pissed because it's such a great idea. Such an awesome idea. And that happened at our AIGA National Convention here. So the reason why I looked at AIGA is because now we get to talk to business owners. We get to talk to the bigwigs at Pentagram. We get to talk to Adams Morayko. I get to talk to Jennifer Moreland in San Francisco. I get to talk to some huge people, especially when we brought them in to do judging of our shows. So what we did is we said, let's change the award show. The first hour is drinking and social. We'll open up the bar, so it's free. And then it's an award show an hour, and then dancing after that. So our thing was only 3 hours long, and that's it. Not 12 hours, not 6 hours. It's this, and that's it. And the judges were high quality. I mean, this is Joe Duffy, the guys behind Jack in the Box and behind Classical Spaghetti Sauce. This is Aaron Draplin. These are Jennifer Sterling. These are the big wigs that we see in communication arts.
Wow,
and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so, and here's the thing: I was the first volunteer to always raise their hands. Let me pick them up from the airport, because this gives me one-on-one time, time with them. We'll go have a drink, we'll go eat, and I got a masterclass session on the biggest names in the industry because of that. And so because of that, that was royal to me. That helped me become a better business person, got to help me negotiate deals a little bit differently. We got to learn how they pitch certain things. So much information was exchanged in those moments. It was crazy. Even what I would share at the first few years of AIGA is like, why are you a member and stuff like that? Because there was a time where we were doing work for a client. They needed a file in New York City, but the client was in a building, and somehow the connection of their internet, they didn't really have Wi-Fi, it was internet connection, modem style. They could not get the file somehow. And there was an AIGA chapter member that was in the same building a few floors lower. We called them up through the phone book or the AIGA membership book and asked them, is there a modem working? They said, yes. I said, if we can transfer this over to you, can you bring this to our client? They go, yeah. Do you want us to print it out too? We go, would you mind? And they go, yeah. They saved a big client for us just on one call. And ever since then, I'm like, where else can you get that?
Yeah.
Where else can you just reach out to someone and ask them that kind of favor there? And I said, the networking is amazing. And it was unbelievable. And so that was really the inception of AIGA, but it became so much bigger because as more and more creatives of Vegas came in, they had so much bigger and bolder and amazing more ideas that we could ever even fathom. It was unbelievable to have, and we're bringing in some incredible workshops. Joel Nakamura, we're bringing in the head creative director of Nike to come speak. We had incredible venues and stuff like that, but the camaraderie of the people was amazing and still is to this day. I mean, when we look back at some of the events that they would put on, I mean, Martin, his Lush and everything with the Poetry Society and stuff, those were truly just beautiful, groundbreaking things that people would bring to the table that no one else was even thinking about. And so with that said, is where else do you have that? I mean, where else do you have not only just the business aesthetics of it, but even the personal aesthetics of it, where you can talk to other designers about other things that are going on and what's going on and how can we help or whatever, or where else can you just talk to another business owner and they're actually giving you advice or giving you away like, okay, hey, I'm going to be bold with you. How much you charge, Lou? I don't know how much you charge. Oh yeah. And then you have to put your cards on the table or whatever. Like, or if, like, for instance, one of my questions was to Landor Associates. I'm like, I read up on an article, you charge $15 million for your FedEx logo. I can barely get a client to give me 20 grand for it. So what's your thing? And they go, 20 grand, that's easy. All right, talk to me. And they actually brought us a document and showed us a process. And I'm like, oh my God, is it really that easy? And they go, yes. And I'm like, wow. And so we convinced a client that was going to pay a t-shirt artist $250 for a logo. And we were able to convince them through a process that they can pay more than $10,000 for and get it. And they did it and they loved it and they were happy. They weren't even bitter. And it's like unbelievable.
Nice.
So it's how you say it, what you say, where you build the value and everything else. It elevated my mind to a whole different mindset. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but man, it just opened doors. I mean, it kicked them down.
Being a part of AIGA.
Yeah, being part of AIGA, because sharing that information.
Mm-hmm.
That was vital for me. So imagine, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish up.
No, I was just going to say the AIGA is based upon what we're going to make it.
The energy we put out.
Not what National's going to do. It's what us local chapters are going to do. David's group was an amazing group of individuals and board of directors. Martin was on that group as well and stuff. And every group and board does their thing. Yeah. And when you're with that board or group, it's what you put into is what you get out of it. It is running a business from the ground up. It is that. And it can be more. But the one thing is I watched former presidents give graphic designers positions they never would have had before. I remember when Victor gave this one gentleman the creative director position for Ameristar Casinos at one time. And it was a huge opportunity for him. I remember when the board was brought an opportunity to go talk to the city about naming Downtown Arts District 18B and creating graphics and stuff for it. Where the sign's up right now is because of AIJ members. Yeah. And there's opportunities. And there's the logo for the Las Vegas Book Fair that happens every year was designed by AIJ members through AIJ, where we would have a stand there and put 50 books and 50 covers out there and stuff. You have to realize there's amazing connections in so many different ways that people are just they don't know until they dive in. And when you dive in, it's like, wow.
So this is impressive.
So go ahead.
Like for me, like the reason I joined AIGA back then was really just to give back to the community. Like I really wanted to help out our community. And that's the reason why I'm joining it again. But now that I'm thinking back, as you're saying all this stuff, now that I'm thinking back of my AIGA time when I was in there with Sly, then Sly left, that I had a lot of fun, dude. We had so much fun throwing those events. We had a typography event. We had the poetry event. AIGA came to Las Vegas too for the convention, right, Sly?
The Mirage.
The Mirage. And
so imagine that one, Clement Mock, the former creative director of Apple, who was also a creative director for Revo Sunglasses, who designed the Mirage's logo, was walking the grounds there, former president of AIGA. And I went up to him and goes, how's it feel to be in this place now? Because I remember reading an article on him when he said he charged $35,000 for his logo for the Mirage, and he felt he didn't charge enough. And everyone's like, dude, you charged $35,000. He goes, they were making over $1 million in sales and merchandise alone. He goes, if I just got a percentage of that, that would have been huge. And now look at the Mirage. His logo's going away. So it's going to be archived, But just where can you find that? Where can you walk and talk to these people,
Yeah. No, the Mirage logo is going to be epic. It's going to stay in our history, in Vegas history. So that guy left a big mark, and that's amazing.
Yep. It's huge.
Yeah, so can you walk us through your AIGA positions? So you said you kind of founded AIGA Las Vegas, right? And then, there's been other presidents.
So I avoided being president because I just didn't want to be the president. So I was the membership director for the first couple years, I think 2 or 3 years. But I was also doing programming, so I was showing up the program. But I also was the sponsorship director. So I would go around and ask sponsors to donate $10,000, $15,000 to us to do our events and stuff like that. And then
so 3 roles in one, or all at the same time.
Yeah, all at the same time. And then for years later after that, I became a board advisor. So then like when Victor was running the board with Dale and stuff like that, they had a huge board. And I really didn't have to talk much or share information with them because they were running amazingly well and self-sufficient. So I'd give them ideas about some things here and there. Or I would want to run, one of the things I created was called What is Art? What I found out is a lot of graphic designers were fine artists, but they didn't have a space or a gallery to showcase their work. So we created a show called What is Art, where we'd have a gallery space at the Arts Factory and we'd have their artwork up on the wall, not graphic design, but fine art, sculpture, paintings, all that stuff, even poetry and whatever, up on the walls and stuff. And it was really cool. But so I was a board advisor for a while, and then I had to step down for a while. I needed a time and space. I was asked by a couple board members to say, hey, Dan, take a break, man, have a break for a while. And actually, I was probably being annoying, and I understand that. So I stepped down for a while, for many, many years, but I always played an active role. I'd show up at events, I'd submit stuff for certain award shows and everything else. I came back into the fold 14 years ago when I was just scratching the surface with CSN to start a student group. So I was a board advisor for the CSN student group because UNLV Erie had theirs. And at that time, I was looking at the board and talking to Angela and anyone I could at certain times to participate in little minor roles here and there, or do student group stuff. And at that time, something really unfortunate happened. When COVID hit, Chris Johnson at that time was the president of the organization, had a huge milestone. He lost a lot of his board members. He lost a lot of members, and people just didn't know where the future of AIGA was going to go. And at that time, I just had some great conversations with Chris. I said, Chris, let's talk. Let's just see what needs to happen. He goes, well, I have no board. It's just me and my accountant, John. John's been with the company, or John's been with AIGA forever as our financial officer.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And at that time, I said, look, right now people are struggling to stay alive. People are struggling just to breathe. People are trying to refigure it out. Let's do what's easy. And let's do the CSN model, what we did with CSN. So CSN, we'd be teaching classes full time in classrooms, nonstop craziness. We switch full online. Everything's Zoom, everything's pre-recorded, everything's done. So let's do some Zoom lectures. Let's bring in some top-notch people. I'll just go reach out to whoever I want to talk to, and let's start inviting them.
And that's right. That's right. I remember you had the artist for Theory 11. I love their cards.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I literally that.
So imagine opening your drawer of anything, and who would you want to talk to? And Theory 11, I wanted to talk to, because Homer Lewag, who's the creative director for David Copperfield, mentioned that he knows the owner. I said, get me in touch with him, please. And he just gave me his email. I said, here, reach out to him. And I reached out to him, and Jonathan was amazing. And then we had Von Glitcha be our first ever lecture, Zoom lecture. We had Kevin Tong, who does amazing posters and illustrations. Everlasting Sunshine, I think, is his website and stuff like that. And he does amazing work. And we had Zoom bomb him, Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter.
Yep. I was on that one too.
Epic.
Yeah.
I mean, to reach out to her was epic. I remember even Jay Fletcher. Gosh, Jay Fletcher was amazing. I didn't know about Jay Fletcher. I think Victoria told me about Jay Fletcher. Someone said about him. And I reached out to him. He goes, Dan, I don't want to talk about design anymore. I don't want to talk about my logos anymore. Can we just talk about something else? I go, what do you want to talk about? He goes, fly fishing. I go, let's do it. He goes, what? I go, if we can talk about fly fishing for an hour and somehow articulate that, how they can work for business or graphic design or creative, let's do it. And he's like, well, they want to hear about my design too. I go, maybe. Let's talk about fly fishing. So I called him out on his bluff, and all that stuff. But then in my mind, I'm going, you know what? I need to come up with someone really special for him for a Zoom bomb. And I go, I know Lake Las Vegas has bass fishing. So I reached out to Bass Pro Shops. I reached out to Lake Mead Recreational Center. I'm like, please give me someone who's a champion fisherman so I can have him Zoom bomb him. No one answered. No one answered. I looked up online about a person who's a world champion, founder, went to her Twitter account, sent her a direct message, DM'd her. She responded. Maxine, never forget it for the rest of my life. She's world champion, long casting fly fisherman, perfect. And so the kickoff of the Q&A for Jay, I had her ask a question. He had no idea who she was. He had no idea that she was there. He thought she was a design student. And next thing I go, Max, why don't you tell Jay who you really are? And she shared it with him, and it blew his mind. He was like, shut up. He goes, I'm taking over the Zoom right now. And he started asking all these questions about it. First of all, you just see this guy talking about his design, and then you see him as a kid. And it was perfect. It was so epic. And what was unbelievable is not even knowing this about Jay. He learned from an article of hers years ago, or a couple years prior, how to do the certain type of casting with a fly fishing rod. And he shared her thoughts with all his friends. And it was her. So he got to thank her for that, all that on that Zoom call. And it was very touching. It was, I mean, you couldn't make it more perfect than that. So we took a boring, dead element of AIGA and made it fun again. Just what we're doing here. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to leave your room. We can just do it right now and have some moments. And we had amazing moments, and we just do all these crazy things and just do it. And I said, we just need to do this to build momentum to figure out what are we going to do with AIGA now. At that time, I'm so blessed. Like I said, I was blessed when I got that. When I got Westwood Studios as a client, you have to realize Westwood Studios was one of our first sponsors of AIGA ever. That's Victoria Hart. Okay, Victoria Hart was the creative director for Westwood Studios, and she's now our vice president. So I've been friends with her since day one, and she's been amazing. And she always wants to do something in the industry. And there's a lot of designers that just want to come back and do something big and bold. Gina owns Royal Printing and stuff, and she's now an educator too. She wanted to jump on the board. So these are people from the first days of AIGA are now back and doing stuff again. And so we're rebuilding the board. We've been rebuilding our board. Chris decided at that time he was doing some great documentaries on HBO and stuff. He's got another one coming out, which is amazing. He did Class Action Lawsuit, which is about this incredible summer camp on HBO and stuff, or now Max. And now he's got another one coming out, but he's been amazing. He helps edit all our videos and stuff like that. He's a board advisor for that. He stepped down as president, allowed me to be president now. I went from coming out of the shadows to be vice president to be president. And basically we're building our board now, and we want to build our membership, and we're building it with, what do we want to do? What do we want to talk about? What do we want for a community? And where can we have our legacy? So what would have happened to AIGA? All the stuff from AIGA was in a storage unit, would have been thrown away. The board would quit, and $10,000 would have been donated back to AIGA National, and that would be it. And we wouldn't hear from AIGA again. Now we have long-lasting legacy videos for all members to continue to watch if they're a member, for free if they're a member. All our legacy stuff, instead of being thrown away, are now in the archives at UNLV, archived as History of Las Vegas. It is showing the history from 1997 to now of all the designs that were voted on, and the judges, and all the hard work and the people from every volunteer and every. We have two here. That's awesome. Board directors from their history is now on permanent collection at UNLV that will be untouched, unscathed, and part of Las Vegas's history.
Your poster, my poster is there. For Lush. It's fucking sick, bro. We're part of fucking Vegas history, homie.
And and they have a permanent gallery at Wholesome Design Studios right now in the hallway. There's some Lush posters are up there. A lot of people don't know about that. That's awesome. So now when people think, look, we're so tough on building our company, making money, dealing with our clients and all this stuff. And I know that's rough. It's tough. I'm thinking, what's your legacy? What are you doing this for? What's the long term? Okay, I'm going to die. There are right now some of my mentors. Another mentor of mine is Mike Salisbury. I'll say the name. No one knows who the heck he is. He designed the Lucasfilm logo. He designed Raiders of the Lost Ark logo. He art directed Michael Jackson to wear the white socks on his first album.
Ooh. Dang.
Look him up. Okay. Mike Salisbury. Okay. These are legends of the game. Legends of the game. He is a legend. Okay. He shared with me, he says, you know what? If you're not building your future, you're building nothing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's true.
Dan, I gotta tell you, man, I have only hung out with you in portfolio reviews, and we've had conversations here and there. But to hear your story, to hear how well you're connected, to hear your friends, it's very inspiring. This is honestly the reason why we created this podcast, to share the design stories, to share history, because as designers, we get overlooked a lot. People just see shit on the street. They see things, they're like, oh, that's a cool commercial. Oh, I don't want to see commercials. I'm like, well, I want to see commercials because I want to fucking design commercials, right? They see movie posters and they go, oh, that's cool. But they don't think about the hard work that goes into it. They don't think about anything else. To hear your story, brother, it is very fucking inspiring, man. Part of it is the whiskey, but it's honestly very, very inspiring. To hear the things that you're saying, a lot of that reflects on myself and my journey as a creative, right? It's just awesome. It is so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and coming on here and telling your story, and us, just shooting the shit about design.
Absolutely.
But you are definitely an inspiration, man. Hearing your journey, to me, that's just, I'm creative boner right now. Yes. everything you're saying, yeah.
We went from Martin to Pete now. I'm opening too many holes here.
It's gotta come full circle,
Look, man, this is what I say about dude, Dan. I tell this to all the people, man. Dan is fucking awesome. He's fucking great. You met people, I tell them, you probably met people in your life that talk this talk, and that's how I was. That's how I thought you were, because you say I know this people, I know this, and I'm like, okay, Dan, sure, yeah. But then you backed their shit up, you backed it up,
yeah.
And I was and then I realized, holy shit, Dan is not full of shit. Like when he says all these like name drops, he's not name dropping. He knows them. That's to me like amazing, bro.
And the cool thing too, though, man, is like you're very approachable. I think that's the reason why you have such like big friends, and you're just a kindred spirit, and that's amazing. One thing like just communicating and having friends in multiple industries. I reflect that off of you with me because I have friends that are doing cool shit, and I have a friend who's interning with Lucasfilms right now.
Nice.
And again, just shooting for the stars. I wanted to reach out to like Bond agency that create movie posters for a living. Like that to me was a dream job. Like how badass would it be to just work on assets like that, and your artwork gets seen by millions or billions, around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me, the power of graphic design is amazing. It's fucking amazing. Like everything that we look at, everything that we deal with on a daily basis, someone somewhere, some designer created it, and it's just overlooked, but it's awesome to talk about it, and it's awesome just to see the roots and everything. It's just thanks for the inspiration, bro.
No problem. Thank you. We're I definitely would love to, I would recommend everyone just to go to YouTube and go to AIGA Las Vegas. And definitely check out, there's a video that we did for our 25th anniversary. We're at now 27 years. But the 25th anniversary, but please realize that if you look at all the shout outs and the people that are doing shout outs, we have like the creative director that did all the YouTube albums, YouTube, that was at the Sphere for 45 years in there and stuff like that. Or the Johnny Earl from Johnny Cupcakes and stuff like that. It's so amazing to meet these people, but be inspired by what they do. But it's unbelievable how generous they are with their time to share their gifts with us. I'm so inspired because they're sharing with me, and I use this in my teaching methodologies. Knowledge is meant to be shared, not hoarded.
Thank you.
It's so true. Yep. It's supposed to be shared, not hoarded. And I will say that for the rest of my life. And it's, there's times that we're going to need certain knowledge just so we can pass on to the next. It's like, this knowledge I have is not mine.
Yeah.
Someone gave it, my mentors gave it to me to pass it on, to keep passing it on and keep sharing it. We would not have those portfolio reviews if it weren't for Jackson Bolts.
Yeah.
As he pushed us as seniors to run our own shows. We would not have the kind of mentors or the talks or the people that we have if I didn't reach out and say, hey, can you do this for us?
Yeah.
It's the ask. The power of the ask is huge. So, and whenever you guys want to, I can share screen stuff and I can show people some work if they want to see it or whatever too, if you want to go down that avenue as well.
No, for sure. So I got a few things for you. Number one, as a designer, I remember like Martin sent me a picture one time, and I don't remember where I was working at the time, but he was like, hey, look, Dan's sharing your artwork. And you were sharing one of my posters for Lush in your classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And at that moment in time, I'm like, yes, I've made it. I made it to the big times.
Oh,
my
nice.
artwork's being shared. Like that's awesome. But then I thought about it. I'm like, maybe he's talking shit. Like, look at this. It's fucking double exposure.
Oh, look at this terrible. Shit. This is not don't do.
Exactly. So since you've done graphic design and design just in general for such a long time, from when you first started till now, what is something that you've liked that has changed and something that you missed from back in the day that is no longer being used?
All right, so I'm going to answer the second one first and the first one second. So the second part of the question, I miss the hands-on. I miss the cutting the Ruby Lith, the stat machines, the rub downs. There's something about the tactile quality of using your hands, even pen and ink and stuff, that's still true to the nature of the idea of the thought, the growth of the thought of the concept from mind to hand to paper. I still, and I've done it digitally too, but I still love the paper. I love the tactile quality. I love just doing stuff from that. Yeah, the feel. I love smelling the inks and everything else. It's just, there's something about that I would like to see more of, because I feel that even like, for instance, when I get boggled down from doing too much design work on a computer, I will give myself a project where I have to just use my hands. So I crafted like Nightmare Before Christmas holiday stuff for my house and stuff, where I built a 17-foot Jack Skeleton, a 9-foot Oogie Boogie from scratch to the articulation of how it looks in the movie. And I just do that because I feel that the hand quality just brings out more thoughts and more processes. And it's just, The hands-on feel just does something with the mind. It just it really augments a lot more of our synapses that happen up there. So with that, to answer the first part of the question and stuff, what I like is that even today, when you're looking at artificial intelligence and you're looking at VR and augmented realities and all these stuff, and we get worried about new technologies coming in, I'm not worried at all, because it's adaptability all times. It's going to help process a lot of things. There's a lot of downsides and plus sizes to all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that what AI will never do that we do is you still have to talk to a client. You still have to solve a problem, and you still have to generate something that probably hasn't been generated before. Yeah. And even and with that, no matter what tool is out there, the human condition of us talking to one another, sharing those ideations and sharing with them and how we articulate them, there'll be times where I know I want to do something visually. And like you, for instance, you said this before, Toro. You said that you just launched a magazine and you're doing it twice a month or whatever. And I remember when Melinda Shekels was doing 944 magazine, and I looked at her and I had her come into one of my classes, and she helped a couple of my students get actually published in her 944 magazine. And I looked at her, I said, why is all your magazines, every single one, a photo cover? When are you going to do an illustration one? And she goes, they're not all photos. And she looked at all the covers. She goes, oh shit, they are. And within a couple months later, they did an illustration cover. And she was like, and I was like, this is so cool. Is the place that we can have to influence community and culture and corporate is more powerful than we can think and ever know. And when we solve more problems, it allows us to do things a little bit more uniquely. So even solving our own problems, how am I going to solve this problem from a mindset of a one business model holding up my roof, where I can generate multiple business problems or multiple business solutions to hold me up. So if one pillar falls, the rest are holding my roof up. Every graphic designer right now can launch a TeePublic or a Cotton Bureau or a t-shirt company right now for free and make money. Any freelancer right now can launch a business on their own and make money from it, as well as doing a business for their corporations that they work for. And I want them to be able to, what I like is to see the empowerment where we take our thoughts and ideas and we don't just have an opinion about them. We can prove to our clients results. If I can show a client that I can create a shirt that's going to create more revenue and more marketing for them or something like that to another degree based on results, then it's not that, then I'm not just shoveling the dirt. I'm actually showing them a result-based avenue. Because what I used to do before is I would pitch the idea and how powerful and awesome and great the idea was with no result, because I wasn't showing that. The articulation is now show the result, prove the result. And to put it into pudding is like when a designer says, oh, this was the best logo I've ever done for you and stuff like that. I always say, prove it. Prove to me that you can prove that this logo, literally, without an opinion, that it's going to be effective. And you know what? It's very challenging to do that. But when you can, you are now what I think we all are, visual architects, problem solvers. We're building things in the sense, and we're solving problems, but now we can actually generate money revenues in different ways we never thought possible. I think this plateau, we need to stop thinking about these other tools that might be hurting our industry, and we need to think of tools that are going to increase time for us so we can think more, take more time to develop more, and we can make more money so we don't have to blame other people for not paying us or doing enough for us.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It just goes back to utilizing all the tools that we have at our disposal. Everything that we have, I mean, Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, those were all tools to help us get faster at design. They were just taking the old school stuff that you're talking about, where it's hands-on, and making it digital so we could turn it around much faster.
Absolutely.
But we still had to learn it, traditionally to be able to master it digitally.
Yep.
I mean, look at this podcast. We're graphic designers doing a podcast that we were trying to figure out audio engineering and video camera setup and everything, and we found this app and through another friend, and it's like, bam, it works. Everyone's at home. We figure this thing out. It creates amazing content that we could export. I don't have to edit anything. For now,
it works.
The tools that we have, it works amazing.
We did test episodes. We figured this out on through the failures of testing it, we've now made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I use AI as my workhorse. That is what I use. I use Midjourney to figure out whether my concept has legs or not. That's how I use Midjourney. Can it like do my prompt, say this is what I'm thinking? It comes up and I'm like, no, that looks dumb. And try one more time, fix it. Okay, yes, I like that. Right. So I like, for example, I have a photo shoot tomorrow, and for the current magazine that I'm currently working for, and I put in the prompts, got the composition, and I'm like, send it to my photographer. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking for the main cover shot. Cool. He has an idea. Tomorrow we'll talk. Which, by the way, my photographer knows you from back in the day, Shane O'Neill.
Shane, my buddy. I love Shane. Yeah. Shane is he is so awesome. He is extremely one of the most talented. Creative. He is so talented. I love him. Him and his wife are amazing people.
Yes.
Shane, so look up Sun Studios, everybody. Sun Studios is amazing.
His wife actually we went to the same high school, which is crazy. She's younger than I am, but yeah, we went to the same high school. Awesome. Because our last photo shoot, we were having a conversation of what other creative outlets are we doing? As a creative, yes, you have your main job, but you should have a different outlet. You should work on typography. You should do video editing or motion graphics, just something to get more than just a static look that you have. But he goes, what else are you doing? I'm like, I'm working on this podcast with two of my best friends, and I'm actually having a couple of guests, and my first guest in 2 weeks or 3 weeks is gonna be Dan. And he goes, Dan, what? And I was like, I always fuck up his last name, and I'm like, MCE.
Yeah, right. I'm not going.
And he goes,
no,
and he goes,
yeah,
this
Dan.
Right. That's all he did. Yeah, he just did this, and I'm like. Yep. He goes, yeah, your wife used to be his neighbor or something like that back in the day. And then he was telling me old stories about Vegas. He told me how the old school Dre's nightclub used to be a McDonald's before it was Dre's. And that blew my mind right there. Like, I tell everyone that has ever gone to Dre's, I'm like, that used to be a McDonald's. That's fucking crazy. Like, just
upgrades, people.
Vegas story, Vegas history is amazing by itself.
Crazy.
I mean, working at Tropicana, ours, when we would go downstairs to the entertainment office, there was a little room that we would open, and you still see the old little bricks, and that used to be the valet back in 57. Wow. Like, just to see, like, I'm like touching history, and I'm like, holy shit, man, like this. You don't think about that, You're like, I'm just going to the entertainment office.
Before the Mirage pool was built, the Trop pool was the pool. And so, when I worked there, I was a lifeguard pool boy there in '86. And we were there, and they had the lasers going on the side of the building. They had live bands. Hey, there you go. That's, there one.
That was a conception, a concept.
But I love that because the history there, it's so sad to see it go, but it's also so wonderful to see where it's been and so many people. You got to physically work in the building. You got to physically work for them. I worked at that place. And let me tell you, as a child going to Gorman and then in the summertime working at Trop, and getting paid $300 a day in tips was insane.
Yeah.
Was insane.
Yeah,
back then.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah, wow. That was my first job.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So when you're a pool boy and you're carrying chairs out for people, and I had the best shift. I had 10 o'clock to 2. That's when everyone's finally getting up from their drunken cells and come out there. I had the worst job too, because even though I was in high school, they had me be the stool pigeon. I was the one kid that had to go to all the European women to go tell them to put their tops back on, as they'd unbathed, they'd have no tops on. But here's the thing: it wasn't because you got to see the free show. Hey, that was nice. But every time they do this, they had more hair in their armpits than I had. I'm like, no, like, put that shirt on, girl. Oh, it was bad, but it's so bad. But there's so many memories. It was wonderful. But I love that. Even AIGA, when we had a work show at a restaurant called Seven, it was at Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard. That's where Aria is at right now. Or where City Center is right now.
Okay, yeah.
And that used to be a restaurant. That restaurant, inside the restaurant there, before that was a Country Star. Country Star had posters that were designed at Hat Show Print. They had real posters that were beautifully done with wood block letter pressing, and it was unbelievable. So there's so many rich history things. I mean, if you think back even at when AIGA had their first show at the Venetian, that's when Shag had his own tiki room inside the Venetian with letterpress and these amazing silkscreen posters that you couldn't find anywhere else in the world. And it's just like the rich history here is just sickening. And the places here have so many gems. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Now, when it comes to design, Dan, since you've been doing this for such a long time, when it comes to comparing Las Vegas to, we'll say, LA or New York, how far in the tier, like how do you see us competing to those kinds of cities? Or is it not really a competition, more like different genres kind of thing?
Sure. The biggest element that we got from judges that came from out of state to us is we would get some interesting notions from them that we just seem to be behind the eight ball by a few years, 2 to 5 to 10 or whatever. And I would always laugh at them. And they're like, why are you laughing? And I go, because I can see where we experiment more than anywhere else. We're on the cutting edge of experimentation here. We launched more things here than most people even know. I mean, Patron was founded in Vegas. Not a lot of people even know that. A lot of people,
no idea.
Baskin Robbins rebranding was relaunched in Vegas. There are so many things that were started here that then branched out nationwide that a lot of people don't realize. Think about what we consume here. All alcohol and everything else, it's launched through Vegas first to test market to see how it goes. We are a testing grounds that most people don't even know about. And I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about a lot of things, and that's why So at that time, I think it was secretly a secret sauce that no one wanted out there. Now, looking back and looking at the people that were playing the vital roles of marketing, I think that they had the greatest understanding of their audience because they knew people. These pit bosses and these managers knew how to talk and relate to the big whales and keep them coming back. And they knew what they wanted. And then after that, what happened is they were just trying to put on slot machine tournaments and all this other stuff to just the average Joe nobody. Those average Joe nobodies didn't care what they got in the mail as long as they were invited. So the designs there were just haphazard and simple. What people didn't realize is then because of that was going the underbelly of the businesses that were thriving and coming to Vegas and exploding. Milk products, ice companies, drink companies, beverage companies, food companies, science companies, transactional companies and stuff like that, coin companies and money transactions and banks and stuff. A lot of it became a really interesting test subject for a lot of businesses to grow from. And there was a lot of designs here that were designed here that actually influenced a lot of other people. We as designers would look at New York, we would look at San Francisco, we would look at Australia, we look at London, we look at communication arts print, we looked at books like The Attic and some amazing stuff that in the past that most people forgot about, to look at this inspiring stuff. And let me tell you, what's the difference between those cities and us is what their commodity was and what their clients were. Some of these major cities like San Francisco and New York have a huge different clientele than us. But that clientele always came to Vegas to show off their wares. They always came here for the conventions. Always came here and they would show us off everything. So all these bigwigs would come here to test everything, even the most unique ideas, the unique apparel, the magic shows and the men's apparel garment stuff, or the licensing expos and all that. We are at the testing grounds. So for that part, we are probably one of the most innovative cities that I've seen in a long time, and no one noticed that about Vegas. And the beauty of it is, if you look at the clientele, they're still coming from out of the market to us to learn. But we're so unique in ourselves that if you try to apply that model elsewhere, it doesn't work. We've had agencies try to transplant themselves from New York to LA with enormous failures because they just couldn't get a hold of our market. They didn't understand us. And that's because they were flashy, they were showing off good stuff, and they forgot what we were built on. They forgot that we know our family members, we know our neighbors. We're still small town. And that small town mentality takes time to escalate in understanding design and marketing and visual awareness of it. So
take a quick break. I got to take a piss.
Pause. Wow, we did that through the show. That's interesting,
dude. That's so cool.
It's an interesting concept.
It's so cool that
like,
you bring that up, and like it makes me proud to be a designer in Vegas, knowing what you just said, because I've never like would have thought about that. Like you and I were having a conversation about this, like, you know, a couple of days ago, where I was like, dude, Vegas should be like, we should have dope ass designs. Like we have all these, like we're the number one. What are we called? The number one entertainment the entertainment capital of the
world.
Yeah, like our design should be up there, right? So you telling me this is like, wow, that's super cool. That really makes me proud of our city. It makes me proud of the work that's going out there, and I love it, man.
I feel that our designers are undervalued here and haven't had the chances to really get the money to showcase and put their work into these award shows or these places where we'd see more of it. You'll see R&R every now and then, a CA or whatever, but when you're talking to a graphic designer that does, I've seen some work here that's unbelievable, and I swear if they just enter it in any award show, they'll win. But it's like to charge like $175 for an entry fee. They're like, I'd rather just spend it on a good dinner tonight, thank you, or whatever. And so there's that aesthetic of it, but there's a lot of work that's been undervalued and underrated because they haven't really positioned themselves to showcase it yet.
Yeah. You know, speaking about award shows, you keep coming back to it. Do you think AIGA is going to bring back the award show anytime soon?
Oh yeah, we will.
It's not we just talked about that recently. So the last one was in 2017, and
pre-COVID.
But the most successful one was way before that as well. And Jocelyn Anderson of Can Creative, and now she's doing some other work right now. She was very successful running very effective work shows. The interesting notion of this is that
right when I got on.
Yeah. So my answer is I absolutely 100% want to bring it back. 100%. There was a motion from Matt Anger one time to talk about, let's just do one that's just based on logos, and let's talk to everyone about logos. We have an exclusive deal right now with Bill, the owner of Logo Lounge, to do just a logo Las Vegas for Logo Lounge, a Las Vegas award show. And so people would have to be members of Logo Lounge first, which you pay $100 and you become a member. You upload as many logos as you want, and then they select out of the year, out of all those 1,000 logos, about 3,000, about 1% of those logos get published in a book called Logo Lounge. And so and he's never done one by city before. So we looked into that platform. We put that out there as a test, as a beta test. We didn't get the kind of response that we wanted yet. So we said, okay, we have to figure out where we're going wrong on our communication skills and what we need to do out there for just a logo only or logo centric, concert, if you will, or award show. Now where we're at is that we have plans on bringing back a lot of what we call the artifact events. We talked about Lush, we talked about What is Art, and we talked about the work show. And so those three things, I'm up for re-election as a president again for the next 3 years or whatever, and that's going to be on my agenda. That's like 100% get it back and get it there and make it happen. So with that said, it's happening now. So you can say without a shred of a doubt, within the next 1-2 years, it's going to happen.
I feel like we really need that. Awesome. We need that back, and we need to brag about ourselves. I feel like we don't brag. Vegas doesn't brag enough about themselves. Am I wrong?
What's
design-wise?
Yeah, design-wise.
Having designers come in and look at the work is an amazing feat. I think validating these hardworking designers to give them credit where it's due, giving them some notions of an opportunity to getting an award is huge. I think that's very beneficial.
Yeah.
I also will employ every graphic designer, ask any graphic designer right now, is get yourself published, get yourself out there. One of the greatest notions of why CSN even looked at me as a teacher is because there's some amazing faculty at CSN stuff that have PhDs and masters and stuff, and they're incredible teachers. And when they looked at me, I'm like, look, I'm a graphic designer. I'm not a teacher. I know how to run a company. I know how to run a business, and I know how to make money and all this stuff. But one thing that just boggles my mind is I'm published. I'm published like in 47 international graphic design books, and none of them have been published. There's PhDs, but they're not published yet. And stuff. And I said, look, my work, it's not that I put money into it and stuff like that. I submitted stuff in there for other people to vote on it. They vote on it and put it in a book. My mentors picked my work and put it in a book.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn. Imagine George Lucas saying, I'm hiring you for my next Star Wars. That's what it felt like. It's like, holy crap. When even though I interned with Margot Chase for a year, I didn't think she would even recognize me and stuff. But when Ryan Hughes, look up this name, Ryan, Rian Hughes, Deviant Art, incredible illustrator. He's done almost every Wolverine, X-Men comic book, Black Panther typography. There was this book called Really Good Logos. He did a judging with Margot Chase, and he picked several of my logos and put in the book. And I didn't even know who he was. And when I looked him up, I was like, boom! I'm like, who is this guy? This guy is insane. His work is unbelievable. And so it just blew my mind. So I think that there's the power of being published in a book gives great credibility. Locally, I think it needs to happen because we need to validate the hard work of our community. Our community is busting their butt and creating some amazing work, and it needs to be seen and needs to be noted.
Could you?
Yeah,
I 100% agree. I do. I think there's a lot of talent here in town. And yes, being published, I mean, it's a sick flex, and it just brings you a little bit more credibility for sure. I mean, that's when we were in school and there was that AIGA. There was a book that was published. Sly, you have
365
or 4. Is that what it was?
It's called 365
or
50 books and 50 covers.
It was a big blue book. Sly. I have it.
Return on Design.
Here.
Oh, that was really cool.
There.
That was awesome.
Yes.
So this,
right. I had friends that were published in there, and they've done amazing things. I mean, David Sly is one of them. One of our friends, Michelle, in there.
Henricks was in here.
She's a mortician now, so that's a different thing. But I remember seeing that, and I was just so jealous. And I said, "Fuck that! I need to bust my ass to afford to be able to submit my stuff in there, but I need to get published." And when there was maybe about 3 years ago, you talked about that Logofolio publishing book, and I'm like, I need to look that up. I need to submit. Logo design is my shit. That is my bread and butter. I love logos. That is one thing I will always take a challenge on, regardless of what style it is. Let me take a shot. Why not? Right. So when it's all about logos, I will throw my hand in the ring, no problem on that. So excited to hear you say that. Because yes, when it comes to that time, I will definitely submit my stuff to be hopefully accepted.
So Dan,
please do.
So Dan, can you explain the process if I do want to submit my work to the AIGA show? How do you do that?
In the past, we would send out invitations, and the invitations then would have an RCP and a form, and then you would fill out the form, and then there would be a certain criteria of what you would do for the submission. That was when it was done old school. More updated copies now, stuff can be done. Yeah, physical attributes. You actually physically mount it on a blackboard. You physically take it to a location. They drop it off. It's checked off, and then we stack it up, and then we do a session over the weekend with judges coming in and doing the voting process. Nowadays, we don't need to do all that. We can save on the glue. We can save on the mounting. We can save all that stuff and do things digitally. This helps the judges too. The judges don't technically have to fly in from anywhere. We don't have to really put them up in a hotel. We can do it all digitally. Now, I love the non-digital. I love the point where we can show up and listen to the judges talk. I think the lectures are vital. I think they're really crucial. And this day and age, a lot of people don't like to go out and see lectures anymore. They like to do this. They like to click online and watch a video. It's just more convenient to them at any time that they want to. So with this day and age, I think we need to tap it into a little bit more digital and then go into more aesthetics of actually having an event where it's tactile and someone's there. So with that process, we would post everything up online through our website. We do a blast out in emails. If you go to lasvegas.aija.org, that's the website. And then you'll see a posting there. You'll see it mostly first before it's on our website. You'll see it on our social feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and on LinkedIn. We'll put huge posts on that like we do with all our events. Like, for instance, our last event we just posted for Male Wolf, it sold out in 24 hours. Literally, it's like, it's a specialized group. We go into a special conference room inside Omega Mart and have a great coffees and creative session. So we'll post it up there, and then the award show will be announced that way, and then we'll go through that. Right now, the first tier before that is we need to think about who are the kind of influencers and judges that you'd want to why you would submit it there for the specialized reasons. Like, for instance, Arturo was talking about how much he loves logos. Okay, so who is one of the best logo specialists right now that people love? And who do we want to bring in to talk about or share, be a judge for that show? And then we'll bring in maybe a packaging specialist, or we'll bring in just a big name designer that we all love, whoever it might be. And then from that, I think that helps validate a lot of stuff. So there's some current trends going on with some great people, but let's just put it this way. What if I brought in, for the most part, I think the name dropping helps a lot. So I don't know the name of anyone here, but let's put it this way. If I was to take the head creative director of Rhino Reynolds studio, who's doing all his ad campaigns and everything for right now, for whatever it's called, for his Mint Mobile, his Aviation Gin, he has a whole separate company right now that's doing amazing advertising marketing work. But if I bring the head creative director in, people are going to be like, I'm in, because it's popular and hot right now.
Yeah.
And then if I bring in, then if you talk about, well, what if I have, there's some great speakers out there. If I have Gary Vee, he's a great speaker, but if I brought him, some of the marketing people are like, oh my God, you're going to bring Gary Vee? That's amazing. Or you're going to bring in the future and who it is. And these are people that people listen to.
Yeah.
Those are great influencers. And I don't want to put any of those influencers down or anything. Like, I'm looking for the visual specialists that are really cranking out some work that when we look at, we're like, whoa, this is amazing work. This is great.
Yeah.
They're going to get culture shock when they look at Vegas work, because Vegas work is different. A lot of judges.
Okay. I'll be a judge. You don't
there you go.
I get it. Thank you.
You can smell it. Wait, you can smell it. You can smell the bullshit. You can smell it. I can smell it. It's like fertilizer, right? Good stuff. Good stuff.
Shit right there.
That's some good shit. You know what? Actually, let's be honest here. Let's be honest with her. When's the last time any award show of Las Vegas actually included a local as a judge?
I don't know.
To be honest, I have no idea. I'm not that in tune with
It's never happened.
For the ones that I've been a part of.
It has never happened.
We've always brought 3
out of town.
But can you not say that that's because you don't want to have local bias?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, granted, Dan's perspective is different, but no, I don't think. Yes, you could have local bias, but you would want someone locally who sees it in that market to judge it. Hey, I've seen this artwork in my city. You want a local representative. There's a reason why we have mayors. There's a reason why we have, senators and all that shit to represent that state, to represent that city. Like, I mean, I've seen stuff online where they're having like huge canvas competitions, locally, and it's a big gathering and everyone's drinking, and you have 3 hours, you pick your team and you fucking graffiti the shit out of this canvas, and the winner gets, just bragging rights and a cool trophy, but it's like a local thing. Like, I'm a little sour when it comes to AIGA, only based off my experience. My experience when I was a student, my experience when I first joined AIGA, to me, it felt like everybody was just kind of on their own. That cold shoulder, it wasn't welcoming. And that was
that an event? Was that at a certain event or multiple events?
It was a student chapter as well at that time.
Yes, a student chapter and multiple events when I first was starting my career, and that turned me off from AIGA. To me, it was just like, nah, it's just a bunch of people on their own island. They're not communicating with us. I heard great things. I heard, hey, you join this organization, you could get connections, you could potentially get jobs.
Trust me, Dan, all this other tried stuff multiple times to get him to come.
And that's okay. It's perfect, because he's absolutely right.
Wait, though.
Everything is it's 100% right, because the group of who we are as board of directors and as members, we are our own island, because we're figuring out what we can do on top of our workloads to make this work. And sometimes the only fun we get to do is make our own calls our way to enjoy that, because no one else is giving us any feedback. No one else is telling us what they like to see. And then when they do, here's a good point. We just had an event where people said, I want to learn about how to make more money and how to be more efficient in my business. I've been told that by about 20 people. My last event, I had 4 people show up to that event. I had the event that did that. and only 4 people showed up, and the 4 people showed up were not part of the 20 that told me that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So with that element, and sorry, I just want to say a couple things here. With that position, you're absolutely right, because that happened then. The question I ask any designer, and this is not an AIJ plug. I don't care if you're in AIJ or not. I really don't. I'm going to be unbiased about that. Do I want you to be part of AIJ? Absolutely. Here's what I want. What are you going to do for our city? What are you going to do for our community other than hiring an employee?
Yep.
Other than just having a beer here and there, what can you do that's going to have a legacy or do something for our city that's going to really, truly elevate our city somehow, or elevate our community in such a way to really make it a better place?
Yeah.
And that's hard to think about.
Here's something that I got to tell you. Let me tell you this, Pete. Like, let me just...
Wait, whiskey time. Hold on.
All right.
Go.
Let me tell you this, Pete.
No, let me tell you this,
motherfucker. You are AIGA, bro. Even though you're not a member, even though if you never fucking paid, you are AIGA. And we have people like that in this industry, in our city, in our community, that will not pay that shit. They're like, nah, I don't want to be a fucking member. Pete, that's him right there, right, Sly? I ain't gonna fucking pay that shit. Fuck that. But you know what? I keep him in my pocket. Because when I need something from him, you know how many times Pete, literally, I was like, yo, can you make a poster for Lush? Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Can you do this for me, Pete? Fuck yeah.
I always reached out to you guys.
Pete never asked, like, what am I going to get out of it? We've had artists in this community. I ain't going to say names. So we had artists that are artsy-fartsy that are like, well, if I'm going to do this for AIGA, what are you going to do for me? I need special privileges. I need you to do this. I need this and that, this and that. I'm just like, you're missing the point. It isn't about you. Remove your ego from this. It's about our community. And that's where Pete comes in, because he refuses to join, but he's doing what other designers are like, or they're like, well, what am I going to get out of it? And he doesn't have to, I don't have to beg him. I'm like, hey, Pete, can you do this? Yep. Right. So you are AJ, motherfucker, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
You do have the design to like giving back to the design community, which is the core of AIGA.
More valuable.
That is my thing. Like I do want to give back to the community. I do want to help up and coming designers or current designers. You know, I think all of us have worked somewhere where it's just like, fuck, this place sucks, man. Like I'm just fucking pushing pixels. I'm making a paycheck, whatever, man. Like this shit fucking sucks.
Soulless copies, soulless design, and you just degrade.
And you know, with AIGA, you know, I was just like, I felt the cold shoulder when I first joined, and it turned me off, and I didn't enjoy it. So I never paid for my membership ever again. But whenever I had friends on the board, Sly and Martin, and they were like, hey, you know, do this. I'm like, okay, yeah, send me something cool to do and I'll do it. Hey, we're doing this. Are you going to come? Yep. Sure. Yeah, I'll be there and I'll communicate. But it just felt like the community wasn't warm. It still felt like everyone was just kind of like, oh, you're a competitor. You're a competitor. And I understand that to an extent. Yeah. But as a designer, like, we shouldn't be that way. Like we should be like, okay, oh, you're here. Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any openings? Or, you know, hey, here's my contact. You know, whatever. Like, don't come across as salesy, but, you know, like just to have a conversation. Like, honestly, I've been wanting to reach out to you, Dan. Hey, do you have any new graduates that want to be, you know, that have a passion for magazines, for layouts? I'll give them a shot. I can't pay them a lot, but I'll put their name on the masthead. Their shit will be, you know, published as a spread, and that's a huge flex. That's a huge ego boost, you know. Coming straight out of college, and if your work is decent enough, and I could work with you, and I could mold you and sculpt you, and hold
on. Go back a couple sentences.
Okay.
Remove the credit, and here's why. The value of them working with you gives them experience. That's huge right there. Yep. The value of understanding from your perspective for them to design will give them a better thing to put in their portfolio for another opportunity, or an opportunity to do an ad and get paid for it or whatever. So there's that. Whenever we drop hey, I'll even put your name in the credits, that's great and stuff. But I think the value of giving them that opportunity, because some of them just need a door open. Yep. They just need a project, just the one project, just to get things going. That's what they need.
Just a real world experience.
The real world experience. That is so huge. That's more. Sometimes that's more valuable than the money and anything else. Now, go ahead.
The confidence a designer that just graduated will get from working with you, just that confidence that, like, holy shit, like, I made that. That is priceless right there, bro.
You have a wellspring of information at the early end. You have a long-term, just like myself, you're a vintage grad, if you will, into this world of graphic design, that your knowledge to them is worth more than a master's degree at some college.
Yep.
So they can learn from your perspective in that thing where it enriches their lives enough. And here's a cool thing. You're connected like myself, where we can find them another job or something that they can get paid for. There's a lot of jobs like that. I have designers, I have companies coming to me all the time looking for positions to be filled. And some of them have no idea how to fill them or what to do. They don't even know what an intern is. I mean, they think it's free or whatever. But you have to realize that in this day and age, there are a lot of these students and a lot of these young designers. They have full-time jobs at Home Depot and Starbucks that will pay them 10 times more than they're getting paid at an ad agency.
No.
You know, one of my dear friends right now, Sam, is the head creative director of Jabberwockies. And I remember it took me years to get him a good job. And he also worked for Todd McFarlane Toys. They have a local office here.
Oh,
I did not know that. I thought they were based out of Phoenix. They were based out here. He helped them with all their social media and stuff like that. But he worked at a job prior to that. He couldn't just leave because it paid him so well. And now he's at a place at a whole different thing. I mean, he's got permanent artwork up at 3D Retro downtown at the toy store and stuff like that. And he's got stuff that's been at the Marquee and Excess Pools and all that stuff. And now he's with the Jabberwockies. So with that said, the opportunity there is huge. And then there's ways of finding funding and stuff for them to help them out through the process of either getting a job or where you can fund them too. And I think that's more enriched than because I hate the dangled carrot. Hey, I'll get your name printed. That's a small scratch compared to the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't mean it that way. Sorry. I didn't mean
No. Definitely did not mean it that way. More is just of like, I can't pay you what you deserve, right? Because I have a budget. At the end of the day, it is a business. Right. I have a budget that I have to oblige by. But in lieu of that budget, I could put your name on the masthead as a graphic designer. And that's also just a cool flex, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If I'm a year out of a graduation and I have my name published on a fucking magazine and 800,000 tourists per week come to Vegas and they see that, and 100,000 of these magazines have been printed bi-weekly, that's a sick flex, in my opinion. I'm like, at least 500, 600,000 people have seen my name on this magazine, have seen my artwork.
Yeah.
I could frame it. I mean, I framed my first layout, my first magazine cover, the masthead. I cut that shit out. I framed it. It's on my wall. Bam. Like that's my flex. So I mean, that's the reason. It's just more of a, yes, it's an ego boost. Yep. Your name will go out there, but it is, yes, more of the experience and the knowledge that I'm going to pass on to you. Definitely. Because yes, we should share that.
I just gotta so my junior designer, I want her to work with Pete so she could learn and like flourish more. And I told her, like, dude, you're so lucky to work with this guy. Like, you don't understand. Like, this guy, like, Pete has so much knowledge, and him and Sly, like, they taught me how to be a better designer. Because when I graduated, like, but to me, just for her to work with him, she's so lucky. Anybody would be lucky to work with any of us right now.
I agree. And the other thing too is, like, as a entrepreneur, the biggest element for me is like, okay, Arturo, so the business is launching, the magazine's making this much money, and it's great. It's doing it. It's building its scalability, and we want to have profitability. Profitability for a magazine happens on distribution, subscription, and ad campaigns, and it happens across the board. However, there's another tier that can work too, where investors can come in and pay the money for it to survive a certain area, but then we're held as captives to the investments of those investors and stuff like that. However, when we can teach a designer how to make money and then do the work for us so that they can make money and it pays for them to work for us, then we don't have to worry about, because I'm trying to figure out, as a as a leader of AIGA Las Vegas, is how can I instill upon designers how to find funding, how to make funding, so that they can pay their baselines, so that they can afford to do these other opportunities that will allow them to engage in design more and take care of their baseline. And it's very challenging to figure that out.
I would say the number one step: check your ego.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Check your ego. Coming out the gate, check your fucking ego. I did flyers, I did resumes, I did honestly, I did porn gifts that paid a shit ton of fucking money.
Tons of money. But you can never put it in your portfolio.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, there was so much shit that I could never put in my portfolio. But I was like, okay, you want this? It's this much. You got it? Okay, here we go. It's one of those yes, sir kind of projects. I know it's not a passion project, but hey, this thing's gonna pay me $500. Hey, this thing's gonna pay me $800. Hey, this thing's gonna pay me $1,200. Oh shit, this paid me $3,000. Fuck yeah, right? I designed Battlefield Las Vegas when it launched.
Nice.
And all I did was sit down and I listened to him and I said, "What do you want?" And he goes, "I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this." I'm like, "Cool, here you go. Here's my invoice." He said, "Cool, all right, 15 grand right there out the gate, done." Didn't even hesitate, did nothing. Wow. I did everything he wanted. I was like, I'm learning, I'm following. As a designer, you need to know two things. You need to know when to be creative and when to follow the rules. And it's okay. You're not, as a graphic designer, you are a graphic designer. You are a tool of the company. You're not a fine artist. You're not out there creating canvases and say, "Hey, this is done. This is my artwork." No, you work for someone. They're telling you what you wanted. Here you go. Here's the shit. And then when you can, flex your muscles. Here's what you wanted.
Right.
And here's my creative side. And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit, that looks pretty fucking cool. Let's run with that." At the publication that I'm at right now, same thing. I'm like, here's the cover, here's the safe one, here's the fucking cool one. They're like, "Oh shit, let's run with the cool one." Thank you. Right? When you talk about like, when you talk about like artists, when you talk about like artist takeover here in town, and you mentioned it earlier, you know, all my cover shots right now have been images, right? But I have been talking to artists, local artists. Can we do an artist takeover? Can I hand you the Raiders cover that I'm about to do in 6 months? Hand that over to you, and you do your whole graffiti shit to it, and now bam, we have a custom cover. Nice. We have a custom cover. We have custom spreads, all that shit through it. Artist takeover. Fuck yeah. Like, how can we push that publication, make it look cooler and all that stuff? But yeah, it's I forgot what the subject was.
Let's play off that, because right there is a perfect feed. So how my mind, I want to share with everyone here what's going through my mind as you're talking, Arturo. You're talking about like Tony Costello or DeFace or some great artist here in town like ISI Group and whoever it be, Eric Vazzola. There's amazing artists here in town that do some incredible graffiti art and stuff, right? So when you're talking about these different artists that are doing stuff, I would go, okay, some of them would want a commission for the art or whatever, and some of them don't. Some will do it pro bono or whatever. For most of them, I'll say, how much would you normally charge for this? And they'll say, this is going to be this fee. Let's just say $5,000, $10,000. I'm like, okay, God, I don't have $5,000, $10,000 to drop on you. Sorry. Great. Let me work on something. Now I'll go to my contact, former CEO of Neon Museum, now over the Atomic Museum. I'll say, can you give me a contact over Marshall Russo's, please? And he'll give me the contact at Marshall Russo's store. And I'll go to the contact at Marshall Russo's store. I say, you guys carry Raider stuff, right? They go, yeah. Okay, who's the head of the Raiders people for the merchandise there? Why? I need to get permission and a license for something. What's going to happen? We're going to have a local artist do a local thing that's going to be a cover of mine, but I want to be put on shirts and hats and whatever and sold. And a portion of the proceeds goes to the Raiders Foundation, but the other one pays for this artist to do this. And now you have a trifecta of different things that are going to fund it like that as a funnel. And next thing you know, now it's blowing up your magazine. It's blowing up a charity for Raiders to allow you to have the licensing, so you don't have to pay the licensing fee. And now the artist gets paid left money, and now you have a residual coming in. Now the question is, what are you going to do with the rest of the residual? And now you can pay the designer to do the layout.
And this is why we do this.
So
dude,
those, yeah.
Again, I'm sure you've heard throughout your life. Dan the man, right there.
Man, I told you, man, this guy's fucking great.
That's amazing.
Dan, I'm so happy that you were our first. You were our first, all three of us, Dan, our first guest.
Yeah.
Okay,
now it's come over to me. Now it's my first, Dan.
To switch it up a gear, you are a Batman fan.
Huge.
You are Black Panther fan too, right?
Yep, love Black Panther.
What are some of your favorite characters?
Growing up and collecting comic books, I was huge Wolverine Logan. I like when I married my wife, I said she had like we were talking about this earlier. She had one boy, Austin, and the rest were girls. So I had all my daughters. And I swear to God, when I married her, I said we were going to get a boy, and I'm naming him Logan because I want Wolverine. Huge Wolverine fan, big Wolverine fan. So, and I like Wolverine because I grew up loving Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, ninja, anything dealing with samurai was my thing, and Wolverine to me was the coolest samurai with a fierce vengeance of anger, and I just loved everything about it. Even though there's other, you have Cobra from G.I. Joe, and you have Snake Eyes, all that, they're amazing. But Wolverine just caught me. I just loved him, and it's so funny because his uniform or John Byrne drawing him and stuff. I just loved that character. And to be honest with you, I was angry inside about a lot of things going on in my life that I didn't know how to control the anger. And to watch Wolverine just say, fuck it and lash out no matter what and just let it go, I felt a release from that. It's like, oh, I can let my anger come out and blah, blah, blah. And I liked that about him. And it was surreal. Now, years later, my dad took me to the Fox Theater to see the Christopher Reeve Superman. I got into Star Wars and stuff like that. And then I came across Batman. And I don't know, I think I was a huge Leonardo da Vinci fan first. And I loved his drawings. I loved how mechanical he was. And then when I saw his winged apparatus, that's what influenced Bob Kane and Bill Finger to create Batman, was the wing apparatus of Leonardo da Vinci, if you didn't know that. And to me, I was like, yeah, I was very fortunate to design a logo for Art Encounter for an actual statue that was designed by Leonardo da Vinci, and was doing and so I got to actually work on that and dive in more into that. But I knew that way before I went to college somehow. And next thing you know, there was just something. I didn't like the campy Batman. I liked the Dark Knight. I like Frank Miller when he came out with that Dark Knight series and everything. That just changed my opinion about who Batman was. And then all the stuff of the different characters of Arkham Batman and everything else. The dark cape, not the blue cape or whatever, but a man willing to sacrifice his life to find perfection for his body and become the best detective ever, and not have a single superhero power other than will, makes me go, well, if that guy can do that, yeah, the billionaire money helps a lot. But his ability to be willful and to do the things he had to do helped me get through my struggles, because then I realized he doesn't have a superpower. And yeah, he's got money, but he's got to still deal with all this pain. And I'm like, okay, so if I got to deal with this pain. So it became a moniker for me to just say, how am I going to solve detective? And then how am I going to resolve? And then how can I live after that? And with that, it was a perfect symbol and a perfect thing of things that I liked. And so for a while, I just started collecting it. I just started collecting Batman figures or whatever, or Batman prints and stuff like that. And I'd watch Batman Begins till I was bleeding out of the eyeballs because I just loved the movies and stuff. Or to be honest with you, Tim Burton's Batman blew me away. Wow. I remember working in LA, working at Side Out Sport, going downtown to the Mann's Chinese Theater, and the first showing and seeing that when they first said Michael Keaton was going to play Batman, I remember myself going, there's no way in hell I'm going to see this movie, because who the hell is going to believe that Mr. Mom was going to be Batman? I remember me saying that.
Oh, Mr. Mom, that's Mr. right. Mom. Holy shit.
But then when I saw the picture of Jack Nicholson as the Joker, I'm like, I got to go. And when I first saw the Batmobile, I'm like, oh, this is something else. Yeah. And then to see Batman's first release of his first picture. Oh, yeah, that's Adam West one. Beautiful car, that's Adam West.
And then,
and
then I have the new Batman right here.
Oh, that's the beautiful one. Yep, his the flying one.
And then somewhere on my desk, I have the other.
You guys are all showing Batman stuff.
Yeah,
bro, we're not little kids right now. Look at my toys.
The penguin
my toys.
You guys got it all. That's awesome.
I swear to God.
Oh, and then the thing I stole from you, Dan. I don't know if you remember.
The only thing I have, Batman.
Oh, the deck of cards. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a 311 deck of cards. That's a beautiful car there.
So my kids are now into Hot Wheels, right?
Nice.
And I'm loving it. Like, I have had Hot Wheels since 96, 94, right? I grew up very poor, and whenever my mother could afford to get us a Hot Wheels, I would get one, right?
Right.
And I've kept them since then. I've always kept them. So to me, it's touching to hand down my Hot Wheels to my children, and they're playing with them, right?
Okay.
Like, that's amazing. So we took a trip to Arizona about a month ago, and I went to go get some groceries real quick at Albertsons or Smith's, whatever the fuck they have. And I walked by the toy section, and they usually, Albertsons and Smith's here in town, they have a sale once a month. There's like, 10 or 5 Hot Wheels for $1 each.
Oh, nice.
So there was this one, this original
Batman Tim Burton version.
Yep. And I was like, bam, I'm gonna get this for my boys. And they were playing with it a little bit, but they just kind of ignored it. And my ass was like, yeah, this is going to my office.
You really bought it for yourself, bro.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I bought
absolutely.
it for my sons. But pardon me, I bought it for myself. But anyways, okay. So Tim Burton, you were super inspired.
Yeah.
Saw the Joker,
but then when Michael Keaton was in the cowl and it wasn't the cheesy leotard and the stupid gray and blue, I saw the suit for what it was. And please forgive me for not remembering the name of this there's an incredible genius guy. I think he owns Ironhead Studios, and he's a famous costume designer. He designed the Batman cowl and costume for that movie and stuff. Incredible. He did like Loki and Thor helmets, and he did the Black Panther helmets. He did the Tron Legacy helmets and stuff. And he did
nice.
Yeah, so I think it's Ironhead Studios. It's on my Facebook, but let me double check. Just incredible.
Feel free to share if you want.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So I'll do that right now. So Jose Fernandez is his name. Okay. And let me go back here and I'll share real quick. Let's do the screen.
Which, by the way, we could take a pause right now if anyone needs to use the bathroom.
Right? Yeah, we're doing marathon here.
Do you need to go again?
I'm good.
Is this are you guys seeing my screen? Are you seeing the screen here?
Not yet. No, not yet. Oh. You have to hit share on here. Hold
on.
There you go. Cool.
So there's Jose working on the cowl right there.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so, there's another, I follow these gentlemen that actually have done the original costuming and the original cosplay and the original stuff. There's even Reeves, Reeves FX. He's on Facebook and stuff like that. He's followed the exact blueprint of Jose and everyone else who's done the actual costumes to make the Batman costumes. And he actually makes them for people who are collectors. It's just because the work to me is so beautiful. I mean, this is sculpture. This is your hands. There's a design aesthetic. There's a menacing thing to it. But when I saw this, I was like, wow, this is incredible. This is just amazing kind of work that he's done. The studios too, when you just go to their website, it's a who's who. It's just sick. I mean, look, Batman, Superman. He did the first Wonder Woman costume. You name it. He's done Snake Eyes. He's done Catwoman, the original Michelle Pfeiffer version. He's done
Snowman, Spider-Man, Snake Eyes.
He's a who's who.
Poison Ivy, Transformers, Daft
Spider-Man.
You got me Daft Punk.
So look up Ironhead Studios, and there you go. So I share that with you because it's like, as designers, we look at where can we be inspired. And these are the guys that inspire me because they're doing the stuff that I love. And so when I saw Tim Burton's and I saw that car, that was a Batmobile I never saw before. Now I remember back in the day, Salt Lake Flats in Utah, they would do these races of these rocket cars and try to beat land speed records.
Yep.
And the Batmobile reminded me of that because I used to collect those Hot Wheels. And so that's why I love the Batmobile and that's why I love those aesthetics. But when I look at the devices, the grappling hooks, the batarangs, all that different stuff. I used to have one right here. Here's when we look at these devices that they fold, they're mechanical, and everything. A graphic designer had to first come up with the idea, and an industrial designer had to engineer it. And so to me, it's like the aesthetics is I'm so fascinated by this because this is where we are genies and Aladdin at the same time. This is where we're taking thoughts and putting into tangible things that people can hold, play with. I mean, for a second, this was in a movie, but now I can actually buy it and hold it myself. And now I can pretend I'm that. It makes it more into a reality. Yeah. And I love the thought of transferring good ideas into making people's lives more enjoyable, because right now there are things that are upsetting. There are things that are challenging. There are things that are discerning. There's things that are hard to, who's going to be doing what and what's going on with everything. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of that. But when we have a moment where we can be at peace and in our imagination and come up with something, or something where it can take us away from that harsh reality into something else more imaginative, it brings hope. It brings enjoyment. It brings our childhood back. We didn't have to worry about all the stuff we had to do as kids. We just got to play with these things. And for that moment, I don't care. I'm 54 years old. I'm still playing with freaking toys, and I love it. And it ain't going to stop. It ain't going to stop for me. Because here's the problem. The difference between this and seeing Batman is no difference in me holding a mug of a logo that I designed on a mug and being able to drink out and love it and go, who designed it? Oh, crap, I designed that. That's cool. You know, I do care about feeding that ego, because then it brings me a self-belonging, a sense of purpose. And the most time is, how can I share that with someone else to make their day a little bit brighter? Batman makes my day brighter. I don't know. And all the different variations. My favorite thing, I already shared this with you guys before, is on a birthday. I used to watch Batman animated series religiously. Like religiously. And Kevin Conroy, bless his heart, he passed on a few years ago. Is one of the greatest voices of Batman. There's a lot of great people who played
the voice
Batman.
of Batman.
He is the voice of Batman. And one thing I love about Kevin Conroy, he's just got a great voice. Someone got a recording of him for my birthday to do my favorite poem by Richard Kipling. So I'm going to eat up your time. Yes, I will. And I'm going to play this for you guys.
I can do it.
Let's do it. So I'm going to figure out. All right, let's go. Let's see what happens. So this is, and I'll make sure you guys have a link to a YouTube page that has it.
Of course.
Let's see. Let's see if I can get this through here.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after you are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be my son. Happy birthday.
Wow. I had to look away because I was imagining the animated Batman.
That's even looking at it, all I could see was Batman.
That was amazing.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So what we missed at the very beginning,
you fucker.
Well, I'm going to throw more jealousy on you. You didn't hear the very beginning, so I'm just going to play just a quick beginning, real quick, because this is where I cry when I hear it. So let's see if I can get it where I can just put it right here.
Okay. Happy birthday, Dan. This is for you.
So I got Batman to say happy birthday to me. So part of my child inside is like, yes! And the cool thing is like that as a designer, that's how we feel when we land a client. That's when we feel when the client approves that project. That's how we feel when we get that award. That's when other people look at us and go, man, you inspired me. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're doing
And that's why we are AIGA. Fuck yeah, dude.
Again, Dan, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Inspiration, brother. Inspiration.
This is what we're about, bro.
So I love Batman. I love creators. I love people that create. And Batman is something I stuck with, and I love it. So there you go.
Which version of Batman do you like right now? Like what's like the non-traditional Batman? You know, the laughing Batman.
Bruce Timm's Batman, who did the animated series. That's just been my staple. Love that.
Same.
Tim Burton was inspiring, but I really was drawn to I was drawn to Christian Bale's Batman of Batman Begins. Love that one. I'm not a gamer, but I love the designs of the Batman Arkham Knights or the Arkham game.
Badass.
The badass Batmobile and his high peaked cowl is amazing, and the uniform that. So there's those variations I like, but all I'm still hold true about, once a Jedi, always a Jedi. It's Batman, and what he stands for and what he does is pretty badass.
How about the Robert Pattinson?
I watched it. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite. And it's just because the reason is for aesthetics, when he turns sideways, his face looks too flat. If he's got the perfect jawline. He's got the perfect jawline. The bat wing at the front, you don't know if it's a broken gun. You don't know what it is, but it's just unique. The car was badass. His costume was badass. But when you looked on the profile, it didn't seem menacing to me. It seemed too flat. And when you look at all the cowls of all the Batmans, they would have a nose and they would have a chin, and that strong design, the profile to me was a lot stronger. So I wasn't that big on that. But did I love the movie? Yes. Did I hate anything about it? Not really. It was a great movie. No. But I just didn't feel the draw that I would feel from the other Batman.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you were to get a Batman sleeve on your left arm, but only highlighting, we'll call it five Batman villains, who would it be?
Batman villains?
Villains.
Yes. Oh, villains. Sorry.
Villains. No, sorry.
That's right.
It's Spanish. Right? You have a tattoo sleeve, and it's just highlighting your top 5 villains of Batman.
Number one, Mr. Freeze. Shit. Love that Mr. Freeze. Number one.
Which version?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, not the movie, the animated series. I love how his dome of his helmet matched the dome of his wife being a ballerina in the glass, and his red eyes.
Oh,
and his eyes are right.
Oh man,
I have the figure. Don't make me go get it. But it's Art Deco and it's simplistic. If you remember like the old robots when you look at like the Land of Tomorrow, whatever that movie is, it has Andrew Jolie in it and stuff. It has those walking robots. He has a walking robot look, and I love it. Just like I have an Iron Giant right here. It's like kind of that retro giant robot feel. Mr. Freeze. Okay, the second one is weird because people still don't know if she's a villain or if she's a hero, and that is Catwoman. So Catwoman's badass. She's amazing.
Which version?
I really liked the Michelle Pfeiffer more than any other version. I thought she was the one of the best Catwomen's, the best costumes. However, there's a lot of different innovations in the comic books right now that are really unique. Jim Lee wrote a really good love story where he put Catwoman and Batman on the cover kissing in the rain. And it was a really badass version of Catwoman. So I'm not sure what version it is, but I really am drawn to that one. If I was going to get a more drawn than a Michelle Pfeiffer version. But I think that Catwoman was badass. Ra's al Ghul. because
okay.
he was, to me, I feel that he was Batman's first mentor. Other than Alfred in that sense. But Ra's al Ghul is just, I mean, and anything menacing with him, not the movie versions, and it's really hard to say the animated versions, but there's some other variations of him where he's more like, he almost looks like a Sorcerer Supreme or a dark, something of a dark Doctor Strange look. The more sinister goatee, the better. I think those are badass. Forgive me for not knowing who the villain is, but he was in the Day of Samurai, the animated series, but he played the ninja that Batman had to fight. And he was learning from his Kima no Roko, which one of his senseis who taught Batman how to defend himself. This ninja was stealing a secret of the family, and the family was the Death Touch. And whatever the ninja's name was, and forgive me, but if you look up Day of the Samurai, that villain I would have there, because I love ninjas, and I think that's one of the cooler ones.
Dude, that version of Batman is dope as fuck. Like, I know Martin right now, he'll challenge me on anime and all that bullshit, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
That version, like how it was illustrated, how it was designed, how Joker was done, how Batman was done, I was just like amazed. Like, legit, the illustration side of me was just like, this is fucking badass. He looks so fucking cool. Right? I know as an anime, it might not hold up, but as a design, character development, it was badass. To me, I loved it. I fucking loved it.
I think the textures, the simplicity of the colors, the almost Art Deco feel to it, but it allowed our creativity to just kind of fill in the blank. So Yoro Sensei was the sensei for Batman who taught him how to do karate and stuff like that. But the ninja, I think, is just named Ninja from that show. I tried to look it up, and there's no name here. But if you look up Day of the Samurai, you can actually find the whole episode on YouTube. And within there, you're watching the right one when they talk about Kiba no Roko, which means the way of the Fang. But the ninja guy is just sick. He's badass. On the back of him, I think he has a dragon or a tiger tattooed on the back of him. He's bald. He has the perfect look of a ninja. But there you go. So we talked about 3. We talked about Mr. Freeze, Catwoman. We talked about the ninja. So you said 2 more?
5, yeah. 5 total.
5 total? Okay, cool.
You got a big arm to fill.
Right? I loved Danny DeVito's version of the Penguin. There was something about his version. The Penguin on the animated series was a little quacky and a little campy, and the one used in Batman with Robert Pattinson was good, but I think Danny DeVito did a stellar. He made the Penguin.
I would choose Danny DeVito over
I
the
was
Robert
scared
Pattinson
over
one.
that one. That one, he scared me. I mean, his wings. I was like, dang, that freaked me out. And then the black coming out of his mouth. I'm like, he was.
Yeah.
He played that character better than Jack Nicholson playing the Joker. And Jack Nicholson playing Joker is pretty epic. You cannot deny it. So that leads to me, the 5th one, which is my personal favorite villain. And it's the best Joker that's ever been.
Yep.
Okay. I love Mark Hamill, but he wasn't the best. I love Jack Nicholson, but he wasn't the best. Heath.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's his Ledger's Joker.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. Yeah. When I saw that in theaters, when he did the interview section, the jail section, or no, when he recorded himself, right? When he had that fake Batman captured.
Right. Yeah.
Chills down my spine. I was scared of this guy. I was like, holy shit, this guy's a psychopath. Like, for real, this guy is fucking scary. Yes. Cheers to that. He did an amazing job.
If someone's hardcore enough right now, just realize this. One of the most expensive notebooks to date that's out there, that's in a private collector's hands, that Bill Gates owns it, is a Codex Lacerix by Leonardo da Vinci. And Bill Gates paid millions of dollars for it. All the other ones are public domain. Heath Ledger's dad or his mom has his notebook of what he filled in to become the Joker. And I would love to see what that's in that.
Have you seen the theories of who he bases the Joker off of?
Yeah, like on the interview of that one musician guy.
How he acts and everything. I mean,
And the licking of lips and everything,
yes.
all that.
Yeah. No,
But,
I 100% agree. Now, okay, as a designer, how would you lay that out in your arm? Giving your top 5 villains right now.
Careful, Dan.
Quick,
He's having you plan his tattoo right now.
I have it.
No, I'm not.
I already have it.
On the spot right now. How would you lay that on your left
hold
arm?
on.
Full sleeve, including the hand, including the top of the hand.
It. He already has it, bro.
It's hold on. I can't see anything. Okay. Okay.
Dope.
There's a light in the middle of it, so I can't fully see it
at an angle. Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, that is dope.
That's sick. Okay. All right.
That is really cool.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dad, Pete. Oh my God, Pete hates you so much right now.
Oh, you. Brother, your office is much cooler than mine.
Pete.
That's awesome.
Let me just tell you something.
Awesome.
I've been to his office. I've seen all that. I've seen all that in real life. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So in my office right now, right where my TV is faced, you can't really see. But I say in my office, you can't really see it, but where the TV is mounted, right here on my left hand side, is all Batman stuff. Batman illustration, figures, just anything that's Batman. That character to me is just amazing. So sharing that passion and just over the last 2.5 hours right now, just having a conversation with you.
Has it been 2.5 hours? This is crazy.
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I told you Dan knows how to talk, man. Yeah, Mir, like
no, it's not just about having a conversation.
It's just
the passion, the love, the knowledge, and everything. It's amazing. Like honestly, I'm super happy that we have you as our first guest.
Thanks.
I'm super happy to know you as a friend. And honestly, I hope to have a real drink with you, and like get to know you, because the knowledge that you spew is just amazing, and I'm just blessed to be in your presence, man. Thank you for being our guest. Thank you for the knowledge you share, and thank you for helping our community. And even though I have my reservations about AIGA, all three of you fuckers have changed my mind about it. That, hey, what I can do to help our community, to make our community grow, it might not be AIGA itself, right? Us four right here could create something great, or us three as Room 250 could create something awesome. Because as you did, Dan, so many years ago, and created something to the Las Vegas Valley, that's what I want to do to our community in a different manner. Like, I've always thought about it that way. What the fuck can I do as a designer to help grow our community? Because here in Las Vegas, there is a shit ton of talent. So much. Jabberwockies, Cirque du Soleil, magazines, newspapers, everything. Events, everything and anything. Yes. Events, clubs, all that shit. There is designers behind every single medium. How can I get all of these people together and have some fun and have communication and connect people and grow juniors, grow seniors, grow art directors, grow creative directors, and just be a creative family? That's the biggest thing. You know, we are not, I don't see it as competition. I see it as, hey, okay, you're working on this. That's awesome. Have you ever thought about this? Oh, you're working on that. That's awesome. Have you ever thought about this? Oh, you're working on that. That's great. I have a person for you. Here's the resume. Here's their credit.
There's plenty of work for everybody. There's plenty of work.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like there's no need. I worked at an agency, and I'm not gonna say their name because fuck you. That was you lived in your own island, and they were like, oh, we're about fucking culture and we're about community. but no one wanted to share anything. No one wanted to communicate. No one wanted to, hey, what are you working on? Don't worry about it.
They tried to make it cutthroat.
Exactly. And now that's not what an agency is supposed to be about. That's not what an artist is supposed to be about. I'm just checking to make sure I'm not working on the same creative that you are, because 8 out of 10 times we have the same ideas. Oh shit, you thought about the same shit that I did. Okay, let me go back to the drawing board. Let me figure this shit out. I hated that. I hated that about that agency. It was just, hey, leave me alone. Let me work my shit. Fuck off. No, there's no empowering. There's no communication. There's no, yeah, hey, this is what I'm doing. That's awesome. Hey, try that color. Try this composition. Whatever. And I feel like that's what we're working here with Room 250. We're growing our community. We're a Las Vegas-based community. And a lot of people just oversee us. They go, oh, well, you're not LA. You're not New York. You're not Florida.
We're not supposed to.
You're not, yeah. I love that. So and many things that you have touched upon that I love. Yes, we are a test community, but we do so much fucking shit. We do so much amazing work. So much things come out of our community that's amazing that people don't know about. But hey, we're here. We're fucking solid. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Well said, Pete.
Got it.
Agree with you 100%, bro.
So on that note, I'm going to share something else with you guys, just so you can see something here. And it's because sharing is caring, but also it's like we're tapping into dreams becoming reality, and we're tapping into.
I gotta piss.
Pete's gotta go to the bathroom.
We talk about iron bladder. He got open bladder.
I think he's a little buzzed. But no, back.
No way.
Like.
Dan, I gotta ask you, what is that feather behind you on your wall?
It's an arrow. That's an arrow, and it has basically it's a feather that was given to me from a Native American chief.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
So it was a gift. Yeah. So it's just it's a beautiful arrow with an arrowhead and a feather on it.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I got limited edition prints or Star Wars, like the medal that Chewbacca was supposed to get. I got these at when Amazing Comic Con. There was a great artist that came by that did these beautiful prints. These were at the Boulder City Art Festival. There was a guy that did all vintage Disney posters. This was Jay Fletcher's poster of his logos they did. When Disney had a store at the Forum Shops, that was a monorail poster. They have local artists like Jerry Misko.
Really cool.
And then some stuff I did for AIGA, and then Margot Chase is posted there. So everything in here is either teacher, influence, or whatever. And then I have my books are crazy. I got so many freaking books. It's not funny. This side is my Star Wars side. The other side is my Superman, Flash, Batman side.
Cool.
Oh, okay. So not to butt in. So you Batman, you like Black Panther, Flash, Superman also, or
I have a limited edition print that I got many years ago of Flash, and I have a Superman Mondo print of Man of Steel, and then I have a very vintage Superman poster where he's flying out of the Fortress of Solitude and stuff. And so
nice.
I want to exchange my Superman and Flash poster for a Kevin Tong Batman Begins poster, but we're right now about $2,000 to $1,000, so I'm just waiting for the right moment to grab it and then add to the collection. We'll see. So, yeah.
Who's your favorite Superman?
My favorite.
Which version? Which version?
Christopher Reeve is what I grew up on, and so hold on. You're gonna go there, aren't you? So only my special. I have a few diehard Superman friends.
I'm listening.
And Christopher Reeve is great, but I really liked. I was really impressed with what Christopher Nolan did with his Man of Steel. I thought that was an incredible version of Superman. Superman, the animated movie or animated show, was good, but I didn't like it as much as I liked Batman. So, as if I was to pick the Supermen and Superman that I liked, I love the costume of Man of Steel. I thought that was amazing. I love how they made it more alien and all that stuff. But I have Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was my first real introduction to Superman in the movies. So, with that said, Christopher Reeve took a thing out of his spaceship, walked to North Pole, and it was green, and he threw it to create the Fortress of Solitude. So years later, a friend of mine who's a gemologist was telling me that wasn't plastic, that was a real stone.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I'm going to kill my light here.
Yeah, no, I know exactly where you're going, you fucker. That's awesome.
Oh, God.
That's really
This
cool.
is badass. And so this is a type of stone that it's literally what influenced the first Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Selenite, I think it's called, or something. Really cool stuff.
Yeah. Dude, my brother, honestly, man, I'm having such a fun conversation with you.
I feel like we're walking to a toy store here.
Yes, you and I need to have just there is so much inspiration from you that I reflect on myself, and not to be egotistic, but thank you for the inspiration, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like your legacy carries on, your inspiration carries on, your spirit. There is so many artists like you in the Valley that want to continue what we're doing. And I hope through this podcast, through AIGA, that we can reach out to our community and engage and get people together and just be a creative community that supports each other in a creative, friendly, competitive way. You know, it is awesome, and it's okay to be jealous, but it's a jealous like happy, right? When Sly became a creative director before me, I was like, "Oh, you fucker, you got that title." But fuck yeah, you've earned it. You've earned that shit, and you will make me fucking proud, because in a way, like you said, as a leader, as a mentor, you're empowering your designers to become more than what they currently are. And from Sly becoming a graphic designer to a fucking creative director, and I can say, oh, the creative director for Review Journal was my junior designer. That's awesome. I helped him. I helped him just I'll take 5-10% credibility for his career path.
Take more
but
than
his
that.
drive drove him to where he's at now.
Same.
Martin, same thing. He fucking got the courage. He got everything inside of him. And I'll take 10% of his where he's at now.
50-50 you, Sly. Seriously, like you guys taught me how to design properly as a designer.
You gotta take some credit too, Martin.
Yeah.
And he's there. No, he's there because of him. Because of him. And that to me, that inspiration just brings volume of what I want to continue. As long as I live in this city, I love this fucking city so much, just to continue to inspire artists. Because when people tell us, and I've heard this multiple times, oh, you're from Vegas? Yeah, you guys don't really inspire. Oh, yeah, you guys are 10, 5, 15 years behind? Yeah, suck a dick, bitch. No, we're not. We're fucking dope, man. We are dope because if your LA ass comes here and tries to design, you're going to fucking fail. Because you don't know how to market to our people. You don't know how to communicate to our people. You don't know our people, because we are a big city. We're a fucking huge city. But we're still very, very fucking small. And that's a lot. That's the thing that a lot of designers don't realize. You know, word gets around. Oh yeah, don't this person this, don't person that, whatever. We are a big flex when it comes to creativity.
This is true.
But to go back to Superman thing, my favorite guy was the Eradicator.
Oh, I have that. That's a beautiful one. All black with the gold glasses.
Yeah, it was just amazing. Like, this design to me was dope. Like, I saw this on the shelves and I was like, mine. This is mine. And the one time I took it, I've never seen it back on the shelves. Ever.
Wow.
Back. Well, if you need another one, I have two.
No. Okay. So yeah, I know you do, man.
So Dan, you were gonna share some stuff with us before Pete went to the bathroom.
No worries. Here, let's go. Let me share this with you guys. Give me a second. Let's see. Give me a second. Okay. Let's see if this works. Tell me if you got it.
Yep. I'm into it.
Yep, it's on.
We're seeing it.
Okay, so this is a case study.
Nice.
Yeah, right? So this is a case study, book 3. I have 4 books of some stuff. But I like showing this one because it has some interesting elements to it, showing people how to push forward with things that they're not aware of. Vegas is not only a huge town with incredible gaming, but there's these businesses that are secret and hidden. One of them is like Live On Labs that makes vitamin supplements and all that stuff, but they do stuff internationally. I mean, this is sold throughout Europe and America and everything else. And these are huge, thriving businesses in a market that's not dying at all. It's actually just growing like crazy.
Actually,
it's just insane. So
I got to work on that with you, Dan. When I worked with you at Brand, I touched like one project of that. I remember.
The Altran got canceled after the first year. The first year we were pitching the CrossFit community and stuff, and it failed miserably. But the United Kingdom came in and talked to Live On Labs and said, "Hey, we want to run this through United Kingdom. Show us your packaging." And they showed them their original packaging, and they didn't like it. And then when they showed them Altran's packaging, they loved it. They said, "This will be perfect." So Altran was a failure in the United States, but thriving throughout London, Spain, France. It's awesome. Germany. It's crazy. But got to work with some great photographers and great athletes and shoot stuff in Vegas, go in Seattle as well too, and did some amazing different works and stuff like that. But what I loved coming out here in Vegas and using Vegas local stuff and shooting really cool. Like this is a CrossFit gym at the All American Sport Park that we used. There's Red Rocks and stuff, and I just love doing that. Remember, we were talking about Leonardo da Vinci and stuff like that. This was an exhibit at the Venetian, and I got to do the logo and stuff for this statue. And it's just fun to see where your work is expressed not only in the museum, it's educational, but it's something that you study. Like to study and like to say that I actually did work for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle named Leonardo is really cool. For those that know, Donatello, Raphael, and all that stuff. But just to work on all these fun things that are unique.
No, I remember that.
This one, George had a lot of challenges. His first challenge is Danny George lost his father as a sponsor after the first year. His dad, anytime you have high-end crab here in Las Vegas, his dad delivers the crab to those high-end restaurants. And his dad helped fund him for the first year. He has a Corvette engine put into a Mazda Miata and would do drift racing with it. But he lost funding and he needed funding quickly. But the one thing that Danny was really good at is he had a huge subscription base of people. So we turned his car into a mosaic where you as a fan can buy a square on his car and fund him. So we did crowdsourcing.
Oh, that's cool.
His vehicle wrap. What's that?
That's cool. So that's really cool.
It turned out to be really cool because now parents are coming up to the car and showing pictures of their kids on it. He got not only funded, but he also got a huge tire sponsor that sponsored him $80,000 worth of tires for that season too. So it had a double whammy on it. So I love when design is simple, but the idea behind it gets exploded and becomes something bigger. And so here's his crab design that we did for the first year. And then the second year's on the left side, but just showing how cool and elaborate the mechanical crab was on his car, the livery.
Hey, bro, 80 grand on a drifting car with tires is not a lot.
Right. Well, I'm just, right. And I thought it would be, but no. A lot of people said it'd be a heck of a lot more. You talk about Batman and stuff over here on the right. These are me just exploring some Batman options for a retailer that had a license for Batman. And I actually got to work on some stuff where it's called Sons of Batman with a Joker face and some really cool stuff. But I always wanted it
with Sweet Addiction.
What's that?
With Sweet Addiction.
Sweet Addiction is an ice cream shop that had 3 different stores through Las Vegas. I think they have one left near Aliante. And so they would have these huge cookie ice cream sandwiches and stuff. They had one on Durango. Yeah. The first one was at Green Valley Parkway and Warm Springs. And so
I've been there. So that's awesome to see that.
Yeah, I designed their logo and all their packaging and everything.
Nice.
So, good stuff. Then here's me. Now here's me doing. I did a version of Black Panther to pitch them a logo and a new type treatment, and I also got to use a laser machine over at Las Vegas Color to do some cutouts to see how it would work too as a cutout.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So just some restaurants and stuff. I've been published in a lot of books. One's like 1,000 Restaurant Bar and Cafe. From Sealy, I got to name Toss. Jazz Cafe was here before we had a single Starbucks. Block 16, he used to own like Holstein's at Cosmopolitan. He started the nightclub Raw at the Luxor many years back. Now they loved his name of his company so much that the Cosmopolitan bought the name from my client. Now called the entire restaurant area Block 16. So you see these Block 16 new logos for Cosmopolitan now called Block 16. Block 16 was the first red light district of Vegas to allow gambling, prostitution, and alcohol.
Wow.
Interesting.
And out of all these, let's see, Blue Gourmet's closed, Jazz is closed, Toss is closed, Block 16 is now something else. Rock and Roll Wine has been on hiatus since the COVID. Sweet Addiction's down to one shop. The Northside Nathan's is still here in town. I love that
place, bro.
All the rest are still here. Bella Vita's still here. They just opened up a new place in Boca Plaza. So it's good to see people come and go, but it's kind of fun. Here's with a new name when I created the name for the restaurant Sealy, and then at the time Bill Walters fired his chef and then hired Wolfgang Puck, so Wolfgang Puck got to pick the actual name of the logo for the restaurant that we have, and still there, still on the strip till at Valley High Golf Course.
That's awesome, brother.
So from that project, because we did such a good job with the Sealy, we got to work on a Spago job as well, so that was really cool. Rock and Roll Wine. Love doing it. That's an actual, there's the label. Cool. That's the amplified wines you can get at Lee's Liquor right now. It has like a swirl around the logo, says amplified on it.
Mm-hmm.
These are some of the other ones. These are on the left.
Did you coordinate that photo shoot?
That one bottle? Was a combination of a lot of people. So
yeah, that's
my
awesome.
technical skills suck. These are, I think, 15 different pieces put together. It's funny because at CSN, Charles Lohman is an incredible photographer. He does a splash series during the summer. He's an expert at splashes with liquids. So I had a lot of inside help on that one.
Nice.
More packaging. That's a typical group of, that's Sonny and Chris in the front of everyone having fun with the logo.
Very nice.
This is my other Batman favorite. So this is where I say to anyone, even if they're not making money or not, is my wife surprised me with tickets for my birthday to go see Hans Zimmer live at the MGM Park Theater, the Dolby Theater as they call it, and where Lady Gaga plays and all that. And when I went there, I was disappointed because the backgrounds was amazing, the music was amazing, but his shirts sucked. They were horrible. They were just like, it was a Superman with a Hans Zimmer inside of a Superman logo, and it was just horrible. And I'm like, I need to get a hold of him. I need to figure out something. Literally that night when I came home, I could not sleep. I had an idea of taking an abstract shape and then making the shape into an H and then making a bat symbol out of it and then making a font out of it. And I realized that there's no way in hell I can direct message Hans Zimmer on social media without him never hearing from me. But I found a way through his drummer. And his drummer, I messaged him on Twitter and got a message back. I told him what I was up to, and he says, we're on a plane right now to Coachella. He's right next to me with the general manager. What do you have to show me? And I showed him this, and they go, this is badass. Next thing I hear from them is like, we would love to do your shirts, but we printed all the shirts for the concert series now. Let's get back together next year. That next year, COVID. So it's been several years now. So now they're back on tour. And now they have a different approach to some stuff. And so they have some new designs out, but this one kind of got lost in the shuffle. They were telling me that this was one of the ideas that they wanted to do. But at least got to do it, got to pitch it, got them to see it. And they're not using it yet, but there's still hope.
That's awesome though, bro.
Yeah. Fun little illustrations I've done for Thunderbirds or myself, or just things I like to, like Tron or superheroes and stuff. In the one that's jumping up from the middle there, that's kind of a if you look at the poster closely, in the grit of those little gray matters there, I'm not sure if I can zoom in on this. Hold on, let me see. The closer that you get to this one, I call it insecurity, but the closer you're going to look, you're going to find details hidden in here. Is like, I have the Starship Enterprise right here. I got Millennium Falcons in here. X-Wing fighters are in here. I hid spaceships throughout this whole thing. Of all popular.
That's so awesome.
So it's all hidden the details. And so this is about how I deal with my own personal insecurities or fears as I deal with the things that I love, science fiction, comic books, or whatever.
Dude.
Exactly what Pete does.
That is literally what I do. Like I hit my logo in so many client fucking
You
work.
do a little nice.
Yes, that you have to go like zoom in and realize like, oh shit.
I do that too with like M3. I'll hide M3s and things too. Yeah, it's awesome. Little Easter eggs, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I'm a big fan of music, and I love movies. I love sounds and stuff like that. And I love Postmodern Jukebox. They got millions of views on YouTube and stuff like that. They did a residency at the Mirage, and then next thing I know, I realized they were going to do a live set at Zia Records. And I'm like, I had one day to figure something out. So Scott Bradley was going to do a live set at Zia Records, and I looked up something. He said he liked George Gershwin, and I'm like, who the hell's George Gershwin? I don't know who George. I'm like, I took music class. I didn't even know who George Gershwin is. And George Gershwin did a song called Rhapsody in Blue, and I remember Rhapsody in Blue because it was in Disney's Fantasia 2000. It was one of the songs they animated. I'm like, oh shit, I know this song. I know this. This is cool. And I thought, does George Gershwin have an actual logo? And sure enough, I found a letterhead of George Gershwin. It had these cool G's on it, which you can see here where I cropped in the G onto the left. I vectorized the two G's, and I figured out I can make a whole font out of these vector triangles. So I created an S and a B, cool. One for Scott, one for Bradley. I showed him that. His next thing, you can see the actual email he sent me. Great meeting you today, Dan. Wow, I love this. Do you think you could turn this into a font?
Fucking Dan, bro. Wow. You're so fucking inspiring, man. That's fucking dope.
So literally, he literally got the entire font the next day.
My brother again
that day, sent it back to him. He goes, "Holy shit, we're using this." I'm like, "All right."
Again,
it's like if you want, you got to go for it, right? If you got to put it on the table, you got to go for it. And so this guy, I mean, he's getting millions of views on YouTube. I mean, hundreds of millions. Look up Scott Bradley or look up Postmodern Jukebox, and it's wonderful to be working with people like that. And so that's awesome. That's where I get to push things. It's like, where can I push something that no one's done before? So look up Lord of the Logos. This guy named Christoph Spadzl. I can't pronounce his last name. It's whatever. Right? Christoph is known as Lord of the Logos. He designs everything for every heavy metal band in Europe he's done. He does not know how to use the computer. He does everything by hand. He posted on social media that he will design logos for, like, it was stupid money. It was like not even, it was a joke what he was putting up there. Like literally like $50. I'm like, what? So I reached out to him. I said, don't charge so little. You got to charge more. Your work is worth more than that. I'll pay you this. I need your help on something. And I always wanted to have these three phrases: what seek ye, abide in him, and work the work. And I wanted 3 different phrases done in his style. These things can wrap in a perfect circle and make a perfect circle, or I can overlap each other to make a burning bush. These are statements of Jesus Christ. And I just wanted to do something complete. When you look at his work is very demonic, almost Satanist and all that stuff. I wanted him to do the complete opposite just to see if he can do it. And he did, and he did this, and I love it because it's something where I wanted something cool because I was raised Catholic, I'm Christian, I went to Gorman. And it's just a belief system of mine that I wanted to do something that was but cool, designed but cool. And so that's where this came in. I just love it. And then he also did another font for me, and I didn't like it at first, his sketches, so I altered it myself and came up with the So Grateful font because it was more like Neo Matrix-like. And then the So Grateful was a collaboration between me and him. But this is where we take some of the things that we believe in or some of the things that we love and do something experimental and have a blast with. Here's where I did a photo shoot with Cheryl Bross downtown Las Vegas. I mean, she's from Oregon. She lives in Hawaii now. She's a CrossFit athlete. On the far right, the same photographer that took that shot is Cheryl. He's a huge photographer for surfing and for skiing. And I asked him one time, I said, hey, can I borrow a couple of your shots? I want to do some photo manipulation. And so I did he sent me the wave, and I took a skier from his other one. I made the skier look like he's doing the wave and created the cool wave thing because I just wanted to experiment with more of that kind of style of funkiness and more surfwear type stuff for a project I was working on. And so these are more experimentation stuff. Here's where I took an old vintage sign and put my M3 in it just to have fun. I made it into a GIF so the neon would flash just to have fun. Because I think, sometimes our clients will wear us out, but the question is that what are we going to do that's going to inspire us to keep going?
Yeah.
This was my old office. So here's my Man of Steel poster I have here. Here's my Von Glitcha. Here's my local art from Tristan Eaton to, James Stanford, great artist here in town, does some incredible Photoshop manipulation stuff. And,
sorry, Dan, we were just seeing your logo right here.
You're seeing the other thing? Okay, hold on.
Yeah. You stop sharing and then you
got to
reshare.
There we go. Yeah.
So here's the Shimmering Zen from James Stanford. Here's the Man of Steel Superman poster, Von Glitcha, and just some other stuff here. This is my older office from my other house. We moved into a single story, and I got another office. As you can see, it's changed around a bit. But I mean, this is my inspiration started from going after things I loved. I love volleyball, so I went to go work for Side Out Sport because I love St. John Smith. We became good friends. To this day, I'm still designing shirts for him. So back in the day, I was an intern for Side Out, and now I'm designing his own custom stuff for his hats and shirts now. This is me over here in the Just Do It t-shirt on a picture with at Side Out Sport. The guy in the middle here is the Howie Long from then the Los Angeles Raiders. He came and surprised us at the venue one time, and I didn't even know who he was. I don't follow football. I didn't follow that. I thought he was a boxer. He laughed at me. He took me to the LA Raiders to go watch him practice, and I didn't even know who he was. It was hysterical. It's just a lot of fun. But Side Out Sport just came back into the fold. They brought back the business was bought by another marketing company for $24 million or 14, 24. I think it was $14 million. But now they brought back Side Out Sport as an actual, you can find it on Facebook, and they're selling clothes again, which is really cool. So I invented their first ever volleyball with Mikasa Sports. I did a clinic with St. John. Their volleyball actually is their number one bestseller. The owner's over here in the blue shirt, and the ball's right here on the right on the stand. That's the actual volleyball. And these are some of the stickers and things I designed when I was at Side Out. This is also pre-computer.
Wow.
None of this was computer. This is electroset set down, Ruby Lith cut, old school. Even the flyer.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
So this is old school left over here with Side Out Sport. This is new school. This is all now computer, Adobe Illustrator, having fun. So sometimes I'll stop using the computer, grab a paintbrush, start drawing. Still, you can walk into any sporting goods store, Big Five and Dick's, and possibly find my King of the Beach volleyball still there. Last time, I think the one at the Gallery Mall doesn't have it, but the one on Charleston does.
Dude.
This is me hitting the ball right here with Randy Stokos. Randy and St. John were the first two Pro Beach volleyball players to ever win $1 million playing Pro Beach. So it's just been an honor to go after my people I looked up to and work for them or do stuff with them. It's really cool. Here in Las Vegas, we actually had an indoor volleyball gym called the Las Vegas Volleyball Club. It was over where Yesco is, near New Orleans. It would have 2 hardcore courts, 2 sand courts, and I got to design their logo, their stationery, their T-shirts, you name it. And this is when I was still working for an agency during the day. This is what I'd be doing at night. This is Jackson Bolts, who's retired from U of A. He's the only one that taught David Carson the class. That's David Carson right there. In the back of David Carson's first book, over here on the far right, you're going to see this weird drawing of these people falling off a cliff. That was actually illustrated by Jackson Bolts himself. When you look at these posters with the hands of the orts is like our version of Cirque du Soleil back in the day of Tucson, Arizona. These posters were created before Photoshop.
Wow.
So to look at the styles of what he was teaching at a level of before the computer and look at it now, it's like, try to do that without Photoshop or a computer these days. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So when Jackson retired, I gathered my class. We got together and did a whole book for Jackson. We all got to dedicate pages and poems and things we thought about Jackson. And this was my little honor back to him, especially from what I've learned from all my mentors like Margot Chase or David Carson, deconstructing illustrations, deconstructing textures and letter forms, and just messing with the crap with them and just making it fun. And then here's my mentor, Margot. And so this is, when people don't know who Margot is, this is a synopsis of the work she's done. So I would look and stare at her logos all the time and go, how the hell does she do this? How is she coming up with this? This is everything she was doing, from the Karma Sutra stuff to Hard Rock Hotel, the Chinese Laundry, Buffy the Vampire Slayers, Vampire Diaries, Madonna. It was like she did stuff
very
for Prince.
iconic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it just kept cranking out. Her company, she's passed on. Her company's doing a lot more corporate stuff these days, but she owned the Gothic thing for years and just really taught me how to just let go of certain thoughts and really experiment with typography. I mean, Charmed. I mean, who hasn't heard of all this stuff?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
I can see the heavy inspiration from her in your style for sure.
Thanks. Yeah. So when I submitted my first work into a student art show, a portfolio show, I mean, here I am wearing my side out stuff. I was actually at a volleyball practice, and I was driving by a gallery and saw some of my designer friends coming out, and they're like, Dan, you gotta come in here. You gotta come in here. I'm like, what? Someone submitted my work into a show I didn't even know.
Wow.
And I won a silver, and the judge pulled me aside, Clyde Piercy, who's done a lot of stuff for Quicksilver and Roxy, and this other guy, Mark Richardson, which was an incredible illustrator. He said, you would have won the gold, but one of the judges said that your work looks like Margot Chase's stuff.
Wow.
Right?
Copycat.
So the funny thing is when the reason why I interned with Margot Chase is I wanted to show her this logo, the Phoenician. I wanted to show her, and I said, I was inspired by your work, and I want your opinion. And she goes, this is crap. You need to do this. And she taught me the art of kerning and where to kern letter. I didn't have to change any of the creativity of it or what I did with the letter forms because they're all hand drawn. I just had to work on the spacing. So she showed me the spatial relationships of what to do with the fonts and how to articulate them better. And the funny thing is that made me really appreciate the judge Clyde Piercy about, you need to know your subject matter. You need to know who's in the industry and what they're doing. He had the eye to see this and say, that's Margot Chase's work. You're imitating her. You need to be your own. He knew the industry. And I'm like, I need to start studying the industry more. Now, the other thing I share with my designer students and stuff is this book below the logo. I was out having a drink with my designer friends the night before, and we had to design a nightclub and that did the logo. I did this logo for the Phoenician. And then they said, how are you doing with your ad campaign, your book? I'm like, my what? And they're like, our class is like tomorrow. And I'm like, what? And they go, yeah, you have a book that's due tomorrow. You have to do a full book. And I had nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I spent all night writing, designing. A friend of mine just had a computer. He was going to a community college, and I was able to use a very weird version of Word or whatever and do typography. And I used his computer. The purple that's on this texture was when you output black toner on paper, this is called color tag. So you put this color sheet on the toner and use an iron, and it adheres the color onto the toner only. And when I peeled it up, it didn't adhere correctly. It gave it this texture. And at first I thought it was a mistake, and I'm like, fuck it. It looks great. I'm going to use this. I designed this in one night. It has die cuts. It has a whole written dialogue. The copy is horribly kerned. It's horribly lead. It just laid out. But I designed the whole thing using multiple colors of paper. Even this pattern on this is a famous pattern that's used on the most expensive Air Jordan shoes you can find. This is a Letraset pattern that they used on Michael Jordan shoes. So I used all these things. And next thing you know, I skipped all my classes the whole next day to finish this thing, had it printed, walked into class 5 minutes late, and the whole class stopped just to look over this entire book. And my professor goes, this is insane. This must have took you weeks. I go, I started yesterday. I started yesterday at 9 p.m. He goes, what? I go, yeah, I did this in 12 hours.
That's awesome, bro.
Or whatever it was, 14 hours. So I said, look, if you really put your heart into it, just lose sleep and make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And so you never know how it's got the outcome. Right. So here's Clyde Piercy. Here's some of his amazing work he's done for Roxy. He passed away a few years ago of cancer, but incredible artist. His company was called PhD. Just amazing stuff. So here's where I talk about where we put work out there and it gets published, but then you get your mentors to say incredible things about yourself. And so I was very lucky to be published in this book called Really Good Logos Explained by Margot Chase, Ryan Hughes. Ron Murillo and Alex White. And it's right here, I get the actual what the judge said about my logo. And then it's amazing to get great compliments, not only from someone you interned for a day, but then even someone you don't know. Like right now, Alternative Management is here in town. They're still existing. They still use this logo to this day. And I got to hear my mentor say great things about it. So it to me, it humbles me because then I don't have to ask anymore if I'm good. I don't have that insecurity anymore. I don't, and it's not ego, is I know that my hard work is now justified and now I can just do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Here's the Hard Rock Hotel's first logo they had on groundbreaking day. We made hats. Here's the first logo I did for Arnold Palmer Golf, which is still being used in Mesquite. And then here's one for the Desert Inn when they were doing golf course tournaments. Here's for Jazz Cafe before we had Starbucks. And then back in the day, I did stuff for Opportune Village for Linda Smith that was published in one of her books. It's funny, they never credited me, but they put all my work in there. So I love that. And then her new endeavor, when her son passed away, the whole reason why she worked for Opportune Village is because her son has Down syndrome. And when he passed away, she created her own foundation for him. So we used some assets from the past of the Concert of Love. The Concert of Love was amazing. Imagine going to a concert at a hotel and the best things on the strip would come and give a 15-minute performance. So you had Lance Burton, you had Siegfried and Roy, you had Cirque du Soleil, all do a 15-minute show. Each of them do a little snippet. So you had the best of the best in one show. Raised millions of dollars. She was the first one to ever get Celine Dion to donate 2 nights of her singing. All the proceeds go to Opportunity Village. Raised $4 million.
Wow.
Nice.
Here's my first company. Here's the Reservoir Dog poster. So I was telling you, we picked yellow. That's the crew.
Nice.
Yep. So, from not knowing what the hell we're doing, and then that's the whole employees, we just built it up from nothing. Just pure sheer will. And we call it OMR for short, but that's O'Malley Ryan. And then this is the work we would do for Westwood Studios. Blade Runner, Dune, Red Alert, Knox. Knock out these incredible 3D packaging, all the merchandise for it, all the logos and everything.
That's really cool.
Dude.
We got to rename. People know me because I named 3 Square 3 Square. I named Nevada Dance Theater into Nevada Ballet Theater. Bruce Strivel was the new artistic director, so we got to change everything from the logo to the name. We got to do all the promotion for all their series of events and some of the stuff that we did. You mentioned before, Arturo, that you want to do the Olympics. The head director of All American Sport Park, after he left American Sport Park, used all our graphics that we did to pitch himself, and he won to be the creative director for the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake. So he was in charge of all of the Olympics work in Salt Lake City.
Son of a bitch.
So I have not designed anything for the Olympics, but my work got the guy the job to do it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And let's give credits. When I'm showing some of this work, like the All American Sport Park, Michael Dunn, who works for Robertson Partners, Scott Robertson, Michael Dunn actually helped us design that logo. So there's a lot of collaborations that happen with that. So some of it is all me, some is where I'm collaborating with people. Alternative Management is David, who worked with me with M3 and stuff. So Rock and Roll Wine, I had the idea, I sketched it out. David helped me with the logo part. I did all the type. So a lot of it's also collaboration. So when you see my work too, you have to realize that it's not just one person, it's a team. It's families that are putting together and doing this work. When you look at the Hans Zimmer, that's all me. When you look at some other stuff, that's collaboration.
For sure. All right. We're coming up on 3 hours now. And
I appreciate it.
It's been amazing. We'll definitely do this again. This is awesome. This is what we wanted, and we got more than expected. Now,
and we
appreciate it. Dude,
exactly.
I didn't realize how fucking dope you were, bro. That's a shame. Like, I didn't realize all that shit.
He did, but
no.
Yeah. Hey, brother, if you do that, let's hang out more too. But
you just blew my mind away, bro. I'm just like, damn, I'm gonna get to work with this guy for the next 2 years in AIGA. I'm gonna hey, Pete, do you want to join AIGA now? On the board? Nah, you got kids, bro. It's all good.
You know what? Tonight, though, you mentioned something that I didn't know about, Pete, and I didn't know you were doing all that stuff behind the scenes for AIGA Las Vegas. So just on behalf of every board member, every volunteer, every student, every teacher, anyone that's been a part of it, thank you for just being a supportive artist to it, because that's a huge vital role no matter what.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to advocate you joining or not. I'm just so grateful that you're a part of the community with not even me knowing it. And I really support that. And your work is on like I said, it's in archival in UNLV. So you're part of that history right now. And that's a huge endeavor. So you know what? I love when people can even be outside and be supportive. And I would, as much as I love you to join, I want people to participate and have fun and give us ideas of how we can just make this community more connected, and where can we advocate more in the areas that need it. And if we can do that, we're there.
Thank you. Thank you
so much. I'm
not gonna pay you no money, but you count on me for any design. I got you.
Cool.
Dan, Aerosoy, I got you. You guys want me to do some design? Definitely. I'm not going to ask anything in return, as long as it helps the community. But again, we'll definitely do this again. This is amazing. This is an amazing conversation. I cannot wait to share this with everyone.
Me too.
The last thing that we like to always wrap up on this episode is, what advice do you have to the junior designer that's listening to this right now that you would give to them?
There's so many things to say.
Just one thing. One thing that you think, for example, we'll kick it off.
No, I got you.
Remember, have a professional email address on your resume. Don't give me the shrimpgirl72@gmail.com. If you cannot afford a domain, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But get a Gmail address, first name, last name, or last name, however it is, just as long as it relates to you.
So the biggest piece of advice I would have, and this is really hardcore, is I'm going to be masterful of your words so that what you say is what you're going to do.
Okay. Like it. Love it. Slide.
Okay. I'm going to pull something that I heard when I was in college. When Kit Henricks had come, he had said something about procrastination, and it really struck me. He said, sometimes procrastination can be key to coming up with some of your work. By letting the design process work in the back of your mind can also help, come up with some great ideas. But it can also be killer, so don't procrastinate too much. But, letting your work kind of sit in the back of your mind where all that creativity is can help sometimes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Martin? Aerosoy?
I don't know. I got like
Smoke
two,
weed
but
every
we'll
day.
share one. Just like what we talked about, man. If you work in an agency and you're a director, your director status, you have people that work under you, like, empower them. Don't be an ass. Like, lift them up. Don't put them down. Like, we're all here together, and if you're in that position where you could influence someone below you, like, it's your duty to, like, raise them up and make them better. Make them an image of yourself. Because if you're not doing that, then why the fuck do you have somebody working with you under you? Just don't. Just go on your own. Go to your own island. Stay there. Nobody's going to want to be around you anyways. That's it. Be better.
Awesome. Dan, any last plugins? Social media, YouTube channels?
I'm not sure I heard yours.
Yeah, email.
Mine?
Professional email.
Yeah, no.
He talked about the
email. Okay.
Yeah. Have a professional email. That's my biggest pet peeve.
Now I gotta drop my sexy daddy 101. Okay, hold on.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I'll email you, but nah.
I got you.
Cool. Just have a professional email. That's my biggest thing.
All right.
I don't want to have taggerboy32@gmail.com. No. Have a professional email. It's okay not to have a domain, but have a professional email.
Yeah, because I thought that was the example, and now I realize that was the example. Okay, gotcha.
The example,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Any plugs, Mr. McElhattan?
Right?
McElhattan.
Absolutely. Guys, no matter what, I'm going to plug a few things. First thing I want to do is, and they're not a client, and I don't even know the owners. Get your butts downtown to the Writing Block, go into a real bookstore, buy a book. It's one of the coolest places in town, right next to the Beverly Theater. Highly recommend that every day of the week. Anytime you can go out and plug an artist or help an artist or support an artist, whether it's a farmer's market or art festival, do it. Support whoever it is. That's a huge thing. The biggest plug too, if you are interested in AIJ Las Vegas, go to lasvegas.aij.org. We're constantly putting up events and stuff currently in our market. We're looking for insightful things of what we can do even further as we're doing workshops and new events, but please join, be a member. It's a 501c3, so it's a write-off. And then join us in some of our events. Our Coffee and Creative Sell at Crazy. We got that on July 20th. That's going to be a huge event. We had some successful events at the Punk Rock Museum, and we got some current ones coming up to the Atomic Museum. So I'm really excited about that. If you are a writer, if you're a copywriter, if you want to do something Vegas specific, I am putting together a graphic design book on Vegas. It's going to be featuring Vegas design stuff. It can be not only just casino stuff, but I'm talking like who designed the Green Valley logo. Currently right now, I've been stumped on this one. I don't know who designed the actual Green Valley City's logo. I know the company that did it, American Pacific, but no one told me the actual graphic designer. And I want to show a little bit of history, but show graphic design of Vegas since a while back and current. That's so badass. So we can actually have a City of Las Vegas graphic design book, just like there's a Los Angeles book or San Francisco book or whatever, showing the best of graphic design work for Vegas to get it published.
My brother, you and I need to talk.
Let's talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the conversation. We're going to do this again.
Yep.
Let's wait till this uploads. I'm going to hit stop, but it's going to upload to 100%.
One last plug, and not my client.
Go ahead.
There's a company from LA that has moved to Vegas. 3D Retro Toys. Not a lot of people know about them, but they do know about a huge convention called, ready for this? Designer Con. It's a huge Anaheim thing with toys and stuff. They're no longer going to be in Anaheim. The owner of Retro Toys is the creator of Designer Con. They're coming to Vegas now. They're here in Vegas permanently now. So not only Vegas being a hub of entertainment, we now have Designer Con coming here for vinyl toys, posters, anime, all those packagings and everything else that every graphic designer goes crazy. All the stuff that we collect in our offices are at Designer Con. That's coming here. So prep every designer right now because it's happening, whether we want or not, it's already coming. So,
okay.
All right. Fuck yeah.
We all need to know about that. We need to support that.
Yes.
We need to do that because
yes,
that
100%.
Thank you for telling us.
We as a city need to be prepared for that. They're going to do their own thing, but as a city, we can do something too. And I think we need to really be.
And when is that?
I don't
know when it is.
Yeah, if you look up designercom.com or DesignerCon, they've already announced it. Hold on. Let's see the dates. November 15th through the 17th.
Okay. Bam.
That's right around the corner. That's this
Looks like
November.
4 tickets are already sold.
Okay. All right.
Game on.
No, Room 250 will be there.
Yeah, you should do a live
McElhattan will be there.
This is dope.
100%.
Best.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Again, thank you so much. We look forward to another episode with you, Dan. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you for being our first. All three of us.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it did not feel like 3.5 hours whatsoever.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
As always, keep pushing the pixels.